Welcome to Fly Nubian Money. We are here to help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm your host, Jade Harrell, aka Lioness Crowns. I'm an educator. I am the founder and CEO of highblackesteem.com. And I'm your host for today. And I saw some folks in the comments already. Y'all seem to be, kind of wound up around this topic. So today we're talking about what maybe shifting dynamics in the dating scene between Black men and Black women. In a moment, you'll hear from a woman who says that dating Black men is just exhausting and she's just open to dating other races. So we are going to have this conversation and we're going to relate it back to finances, but also, whether Black women and Black men, are in danger in terms of these relationships. But before we get into that topic, I definitely want to introduce the queens on the panel. We are here with Dr. Lene Javette. She's a monetization strategist and business coach.
Hey.
Welcome. We're also here with Miss Laura Lala Key. She's an international real estate agent. Welcome. And we are here with our queen, Athena Gardner. She's a CPA and women's wellness coach. So, ladies, we have this topic today. And a lot of Black women in the dating pool are saying that dating Black men is exhausting. They want 100% from you or from us, and they're not willing to give the same thing. They want the benefits of being married and all of these extra benefits without actually being serious. And so there was a viral video that sparked this conversation. We've seen the video. We're going to show the video. But in the meantime, while we're queuing up the video, we do want to invite the audience to make sure you subscribe to our channel and know that we're here weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time at Fly Nubian Queen TV's YouTube channel. Be sure to text the word Queens to the number 87948 so that way you'll be notified when we do go live. All right, who wants to start? Let's just do a first round of feedback and then we'll get into the video and we'll debrief that. I'm going to start with Miss Athena because you're smiling real hard right now and rolling your eyes, by the way. So what did you think about this topic? Oh, you're muted.
I was like, I just want to be able to just share my perspective and still be loved. Okay. I just want to preface by saying that I do think that, and we're going to go more into the video, I do think that the dating climate is very contentious, especially as someone who is currently in that climate. The one thing I do know, and I want us to explore this further, is that there is this fallacy that the issues that people are experiencing are exclusive to Black men, which I don't think is true. I think that applies to all men. Like, I don't think race is a delineating factor in what this woman is going to be saying. I think that a lot of Black women, we tend to be late bloomers when it comes to dating. And there's certain things that are just par for the course. But because we mostly date Black men, we think it's just exclusive to them, and it's not. It's across the board.
Got you. Thank you so much for that perspective. And you are loved. You are always loved. Dr. Lene, what's your take on this topic? Are Black women giving up on Black men?
I don't think so. I think it depends on which Black women you're talking to. Are there issues in dating? Yes. Are there issues between Black men and Black women? Yes. But I think that as long as we're pointing fingers at who did it and why and what, we're never going to solve the problem. And I do think that it can be solved. So I think that some women may have given up on the Black man, but I think that it goes both ways. But I also think that there's solutions. And so hopefully we'll get to some of those today.
Thank you so much for that. And Lala?
Well, I think I'm the weird one of the bunch today, but I also have a good take on it as well, meaning that I have been married for almost 31 years, and I've been with my husband longer than us being married as well. We met in high school. So most of my friends kind of look to us as, how did y'all do that when it was a different situation? We had so many things in common from the very get-go. However, I do have a lot of great friends, just beautiful Black women who are single and are looking for partners. And so we do discuss their frustration with dating Black men, and some of them feel like they're not emotionally available to them, but they're not shutting them out. They're just trying to figure out how to get the communication going so that they can glow up together instead of being nitnacky toward one another. Because I'm in my 50s, so most of my friends are of this age, 40s and 50s as well, and many have been in relationships before. So where is the disconnect in here? When do you want to play? When do you want to get serious? You have to get to the common foundation before you can move on.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your take on that. So I have a really close friend of mine, and she will remain anonymous. And she wrote me, I sent her this video that we're about to watch shortly, and she wrote me back in response to that. So I'm going to read her response with her permission. She said, from 2017 to 2020, I really tried with Black men. It's just exhausting. My casual white partners treat me better. When I got my surgery, I had 3 of them, one who I only had 1 date with, and it wasn't a match, offering to grocery shop for me or come over and entertain me. Last time I had COVID, one sent me a care package. Another one I've been messing with on and off for a year, who currently has a girlfriend, comes over and takes care of me when I'm sick. When I was on spring break, he took me to the Hudson Valley for a few days. Another ex of mine, who should have married, but also just out of a relationship, would pick me up and drop me off everywhere I went, even if he wasn't going. It wasn't in a controlling way. He just didn't want me getting on the train or into a car if I had been drinking. It's sad, but casual white partners have treated me better than any Black man I've been in a relationship with. That made me really sad when I got that, because it's just like, wow, that's never been my experience. I only date Black men. I've only dated Black men. But if we have Black women out here saying that Black men are not treating them well, it is very, very, very concerning to me. And so, yes, to what Dr. Lene said, like, we definitely want to get to the solution within this conversation. Like, what's the solution to mending this void and this contention if we have Black women out here who are experiencing this?
So I think the first, and I wrote, you see my pen, I'm writing notes, because one of the things I think we have to do is stop comparing. Stop comparing Black men to white men. Stop comparing Black women to white women. Like, to just stop comparing. This one does this for me and this one doesn't. We are different. We're not monolithic. All men aren't the same. All women aren't the same. All Black women aren't the same. All Black men aren't the same. So we can't go into the dating pool saying, I only want to date this type of person because that race or that gender doesn't do X, Y, and Z. You can find somebody that's Black or a Black man that does those things that those people do. It's not to say that all Black men will not step up, take care of, nurse, or whatever the case might be. You just found 3 others who did do that, and you haven't found any that look like you that do this.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Dr. Lene. So let's take a look at the video and we'll continue on with this conversation. If you all are just coming in, we're talking about whether Black women are giving up on Black men. You're tuned into Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. So we're going to take a look at the viral video that sparked this conversation, and we'll give more commentary.
I'm aware that I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am so effing tired of the amount of emotional labor that comes with dating Black men. I am so tired of the lack of commitment, the lack of support, the lack of encouragement, the lack of money. Like, I don't know what to do from this point on, but I can tell you one thing. My interest in dating another Black man is like 1% at this point. They want us to be ride or dies until they get their shit together, and then they don't want to support us in return. They don't want to commit to us. They don't want to marry us, but then they want all the benefits of being a husband without actually proposing to us. I need someone who's intentional in every single aspect.
She says she needs somebody who's going to be intentional in every single aspect. Miss Athena, what's your take? You know,
I'm gonna be laughing and smiling throughout this whole thing a little bit. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Like I said earlier, I think that especially if you only exclusively date one group, which is most Black women tend to be race loyal and only date Black men. You can, if you're having these negative experiences over and over again, it can cause you to think that this issue is only with Black men, and that is not true. Trust me, it's not true. It's similar to when people think that, or women think, okay, I can just date an older man and he's gonna be mature and he's gonna exhibit all these qualities. That's not true. You're dating people on an individual basis, and like I said, the issue with dating, if you were to look at different dating statistics, the issues that she's experiencing is not unique to Black men. It's across the board, because when it comes to the dating pool, unfortunately, most men in that pool, while they say they're looking for a relationship, a lot of dating culture is not actually dating. A lot of dating culture is hookup culture. There's a small percentage of men in that pool that are ready, willing, and able, emotionally, spiritually, financially, whatever, to enter a relationship. That is not the majority of that pool, unfortunately. So if you're dating exclusively Black men and you're having these negative experiences, which you would have had dating other races of men as well, then you'd understand that this is not just a unique thing. A lot of women today are experiencing what I call dating fatigue, which that they're frustrated because they're not having experiences with men that lead to any form of commitment. It's very casual. And you actually have to learn how to date strategically to weed out. A lot of dating is mostly weeding out who is not even interested in any kind of serious commitment with you. So whether or not you're dating Black men, Asian men, whomever, you're going to experience that as women, because men tend to prioritize attractiveness in sex versus the actual commitment part, while we kind of prioritize the commitment first, then sex is on the back burner somewhere. And what you're seeing now, as we've seen with the Bumble incident and other things, is that dating apps and revenue with regard to dating are going down because people are kind of tired of each other and kind of experiencing this fatigue.
Got you. Thank you so much, Lala. I know you are married, and the sister in the video mentioned that these days her experience has been a lot of men, or Black men, and that want all of the benefits of being a wife. I mean, of being a husband without actually being serious. Would you speak to that aspect of the conversation? Because that's not the first time I've heard that from a lot of Black women who are actually out here dating.
Well, here's my take on it. Wherever you go, there you are. So sometimes you have to take a hard look at yourself to see if you're attracting the things that you are bringing into your life. That's not to say that's always the case. However, if you're going to dating apps, which we all know pretty much the dating apps are pretty much the hookup thing. Every time you talk about it, I used to work for a guy in social media who created the dating app for Facebook. I won't say which one, but it was all about hooking up. So you didn't go there to go find a relationship. You went there to hook up. So you need to kind of look at your environment and around yourself. I do believe that there are many good Black men out there looking for partners. I know many of them as well. I have a young man in my circle who is a single father who loves his daughters and is really looking for a good partner, but he had a pretty bad experience with their mother. So he also is kind of a little afraid to bring someone into the relationship with his daughters. You have to take each situation differently because not everybody is the same. But we have to also start within us. What is it that you really want in a partner? What is it that you want to grow with together? Are you looking for a partner that can still live his life as well as you live your life, but yet you still come together on the same foundation? So it's not that they're not out there, but you got to take a hard look on where you're looking as well. If you are someone who is a churchgoer, okay, maybe you want to go to more church functions. I don't know. I know some people say that's the worst place to go, but I don't find that's the case. Mine is someone who's in the music industry because I'm a vocalist. And so therefore we gravitated for the love of music and the love of Prince. We have something very hardcore together. So look at what you really want and then know that you can kind of narrow down early on how you can get to the person that you are really looking for. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have to know that wherever you go, there you are.
Thank you for that perspective. So yes, I am compelled to bring in Kevin Samuels into the conversation. I have not been in the dating pool. However, in my opinion, he has been a strong proponent of fuckboy culture. And that's something that I vehemently advocate against. And I'm wondering if, we're seeing this uptick in conflict between Black men and Black women who are in the dating pool. Maybe it kind of stems from Kevin Samuels's toxic, malignant content and perspective as it pertains to Black women and high value men and how high value, low value men and women and rating people on a scale of 1 to 10 and all this nonsense. So, Dr. Lene, I would like to know, in your opinion, how does this sort of social media culture and these narratives on social media, the manosphere in particular, how do you think that is affecting Black love?
I think everybody doesn't need to share their opinion. I think her getting online to share her perspective about her experiences, she could have kept them to herself. I think we share too much negative information about Black men and Black women and Black love. I feel like if you have something to say and you're not adding to the conversation or making it positive, keep it to yourself. If that is your situation, Lala started it, but I wrote this down. There was a Cat Williams comedy show many years ago, and he said something to this perspective of what's wrong with your pee that's attracting these types of men. Like sometimes it's you, sis. Every Black man is not like that, and we try to make Black men monolithic. We try to say Black women are monolithic too. I'll flip the script a little bit. Black men are having the same problem that Black women are having. It's not a Black woman being tired of the Black man being, are we exhausted dating them? I have multiple single Black male friends who cannot find good, decent, dope Black woman. They're exhausted too. Where are we missing? So to your point, there's the high value, low value. I think that plays a part in it. We don't date and relate and get to know each other. We don't build friendships like we used to. We're not having fight parties and going and hanging out at the little spot where somebody can get to know you, get to talk to you for a second and be like, what, can I get your number, sis, before I leave? We don't do that no more. We don't have barbecues. We're not congregating. We're not building community. We're not introducing people. You know what, sis? I have a cousin or a brother that I think you would be great for. We don't do that anymore. There's no community in Black love. We're pit against each other. And so then when you turn to social media and you hear things like a Kevin Samuels talking about high value and low value, now you're starting to get your calculator out and decide if this person you're trying to talk to, are they high value or low value? We don't calculate ourselves. Are we high value or low value? We go out here trying to get who we think that we deserve. And I'm not saying that you don't deserve a high value person, but sometimes the onness is on us. Who am I? What am I dating for? How do I show up in a relationship? What value do I bring? And then what was it? Hypergamy? Who said hypergamy last time? I think it is where you're dating on your level. I think that makes absolutely perfectly good sense. But be honest with what level you on.
Yeah, but this raises a question also, Dr. Lene, I just want to follow up with you and I want to head over to Lala with this. Like, how are we defining high value at all? Like, for me, I mean, I saw the whole structure of rating people on this spectrum as highly problematic and very, very Eurocentric. But what is, like, how are we defining who or what is high value and low value?
So
high value is Oh, I'm sorry. High value is subjective. First of all, who are you to tell somebody they're of high value or of low value? That to me is not even right there is a problem. What you need to do is to really see what is important to you. What is the most important to you? What is something that you want in your life with a partner? Like me, I knew I wanted a man who wanted to have a relationship and wouldn't look outside of our relationship for any other love. I wanted a man who was going to be able to communicate with me on the level that we were at the time and build. Hey, honey, we had ramen noodles a many a night. We look back on that and now we laugh at that and go, hey, if we ever had to go back to ramen noodles, we'd be okay. But we were sharing that ramen noodle. You hear me? We had the struggles together. I knew that I wanted to grow with someone. I knew that I wanted someone who had the same values that I have. So it's not about who's higher and who's low. I think that's just completely disrespectful to people as a humanity to say that someone is above someone else. It is what you want in your life that is the high value. Don't label someone already out the park, because you really never know someone's heart until you really get to know them and take the time to know them. So know what you want in your life and be really okay with that. Never waver from it, because if you waver from it, that's when you start having problems. There's not to say that there's not some give and take, but don't immediately label somebody just off of what you just assume within a week or two, high or low value. I have a problem with that.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, and Dr.
Yeah,
Lene, my bad. 'Cause I said Dr. Lene, and then Lala, so I said it at the same time. So my bad.
No, it's okay. I'm glad that she did go first, because I do think that there is high value and low value. I do think that there is. Now, I do believe that as individuals, we get to determine what's high value and what's low value. But I do think that that exists, right? I think that the problem is when you walk around as a human being, a man or a woman, not understanding which one you are. Okay. A, but B, also recognizing, realizing that there's something you can do about it. Like, you don't have to be a person. And when I say low value, I'm specifically talking about the dating, from a dating perspective, not who you are as a person, not your idea, not that, just from a dating perspective. Conversation. If our conversations are not aligned, if you can't converse with me and debate with me up here, then the value that you bring in that area is not high. If cooking is something that's important to me and you don't, and that's a high thing on my list, that's a high value. So I do think that there are things that we go into from a relationship standpoint that are high in our list, that are of high value, and some things that are low. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, you can learn to be more valuable in certain areas, but it truly comes into that person. I have this saying called, I say, who gave you the wand, right? So who gave you the wand to determine who is of value and who is not of value? As a human being, I get to determine what's of value to me, but also the areas where I feel that I have low value that I can improve upon. As a society, as a civilization, as individuals, we walk around cool in our low value areas and then get mad when somebody calls it a low value area or it doesn't match their what they're looking for. And that's when the high value, low value becomes an issue, because now it appears as if we're looking down at somebody when really we're just saying, this is what I like, this is what I want, this is what I bring to the table, and this is how I want it to match. I think when you have shows or conversations like a Kevin Samuels, where you're talking demeaning to somebody and you're making their life situations be low value versus somebody high value, I think that that's where the conflict comes and it becomes a negative.
Thank you for that. I'm seeing the chat is just really, really popping off right now. when I hear the term low value and high value, I'm thinking about this Kevin Samuels, these metrics like, oh, if she has a tattoo that brings down her value, or if you have, you know, if you have tattoos, if you have children, if you've been divorced or whatever, like all of these, it's like a checklist of things, and that he was using to determine what's high value and what's low value. But thank you, Dr. Lene, for that perspective, because you're talking about in terms of what's valued and valuable to the person. I see in the comments that James Baker has some really great questions here, that his perspective is, you know, on what is determining high or low value. He says, one, what do I want? What's the vision? What action will I take? Action, how can I get in the way? What am I going to hold myself accountable to? It's like those are questions that he, you know, uses to rate whether something is valuable to him or valuable or not. I'm seeing comments about how Black women have, Linda says the dating pool is toxic because of single Black women. And Linda also says single motherhood has ruined our Black race. This is very interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on in the comment section. So y'all continue to engage in the comments. We like putting those up on the screen. We like hearing a variety of perspectives. And we also would like to remind you all to text the word Queens to the number 87948. That's Queens to 87948. So you'll be notified when we do go live, and you'll get the link. You'll also be informed when we have special events and special offers. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Athena. What's your perspective on this high, low value conversation? Are these social media narratives and perspectives ruining or benefiting the dating pool?
Well, as someone who is a 90s baby and is in this dating pool, I do think that the high value, low value, great value conversation has definitely ruined the dating pool. I think the Kevin Samuels ushered in this whole culture of rating people and assessing people that really isn't beneficial. Because even if you look at the standards that he was setting for men and women to abide by, one, most women, the average person is not ranking on that, if we're being honest. And then two, he didn't even fully comply with his own standard, because didn't he die on top of a woman that was like short, overweight, and all this other stuff? Like a woman that was not his standard whatsoever.
Oh, I'm not sure. I thought it was a escort.
We don't even know if she was an escort or not, but the image of her came out and she did not fit that standard that he was telling everybody to abide by. So, and that's my issue with a lot of this toxic dating, manosphere, red pill culture. A lot of these men preach things that they don't live by. And then there's this huge scandal that comes out ever so often about them doing the same thing that they said they're telling their visitors not to do. So in a lot of sense, a lot of things that you hate, you hate it because that is your option, and you're frustrated that you cannot get a better option. As someone I was dating, and I have brothers, I have 4 brothers, grew up in a very masculine household, and I have male friends. I do think on the other side of that, there are good men out here who are also, I think everybody's checked out, to be honest with you. The men are checked out and the women are kind of checked out too. Now, when it comes to value is definitely a subjective thing. And I agree with Dr. Lene that there is a difference. And I think that the old ways of approaching dating and mating, there needs to be some kind of reworking of that, because like I said, I don't think a lot of people are dating. A lot of people are having fun, eating food, and having sex. They're not courting or going through a courtship process, actually vetting people of interest. And when it comes to dating, especially from the woman perspective, because me and my brothers, we've actually talked about this. The benefit a man does have is when he decides that he actually wants a committed relationship, there are a pool of women who are ready for a committed relationship, versus when you are a woman in the dating pool, a lot of the men are there not for the commitment. So your levels of assessing and filtering out is going to be a more difficult process. The man's difficult process is just actually having a woman being interested in him. And even with these dating apps, a statistic is only 1 in 10 couples met on a dating app. So if you're throwing all your eggs in a basket in an app, only 10% of people actually date and marry from the app. So I do think that we need to go back to traditional methods of actually meeting people, actually going through associations, of actually, going through meeting at the cookout and all these things. Technology has disrupted a natural process and has already made the unnatural process of dating even more difficult, in my opinion. I'm not on an app because it only took me 2 months to realize that this was just not for what my goals are. This is just not where it needs to be. And I think that, to be honest with you, people who are on the apps, and I can understand the convenience in your working schedule, but I find the people on the apps to have very low energy. The men are putting in, it's low hanging fruit, it's low effort. I do think we just need to get outside and meet each other.
Absolutely.
But I agree with Dr. Lene in the sense that we're also inaccurately assessing ourselves, as where, a lot of us think we're better than what we are. I've seen that within my own family of, I hear a lot of guy locker room conversation of them picking apart women, single mothers, all this type of stuff. And I've actually give them the reality check of where they are at on the scale. So I think that's something we need to look at as well.
Very interesting. Thank you for that, Athena. I know that there's a lot going on with online dating. I have never been on a dating app ever, and don't plan on going on there. I just don't like the idea of meeting people from the internet and bringing them into my personal life. I believe that, hey, God, and it could work that way on a dating app or online, but God will bring the right opportunities and experiences into my life at the right time. So yes. So listen, there are many statistics I'm seeing from the Pew Research Center that have been on the screen. This one says 53% of adults under 30 have used a dating app. 37% of adults 30 to 49 have used one. And the older folks get, the less, the numbers decrease in terms of the percentage. But I do know someone who is 90 years old, who shall remain nameless, and is on a dating app. So there are older folks out there as well, because people want companionship. So I'm not judging it. It's just not for me, but they're out there, and there's so many different apps for so many different things. Speaking of apps,
really quick about the dating app situation. Dating apps are not bad if you know what you are doing, right? If you are using dating apps to date and be safe while you are dating, then dating apps are cool. I was using dating apps a long time ago, probably before I moved to Arizona, so 2005, 2006. I have dudes who I am cool with to this day, right now in 2024, who I met on a dating app in 2005. One of my closest, at least 5 dudes all across the country who I'm still cool with today. Have my back. This Tiffany's necklace I got on right here from graduation comes from a dude I met online 2005. We are still cool to this day. He helped me push me towards my master's. And when I finished, I got my PhD. He sent me this for graduation because he's big on education. You can meet some good people online, but you got to know how to decipher who the good people are, and you have to be looking for friendship. Some of the problems I think that happen with the dating apps is people are looking for relationship too quick, too soon. Just because you meet somebody on a dating app, you got to use the same rigmarole, the same rules of engagement. Let's be friends. Let me see who you are. Let me see your true color. Who are you? Let's talk. You got to use the same thing. Just because you met them online, that doesn't negate having to get to know them and seeing if these are good people. You still have to go through those processes. People use dating apps in belief that it's going to rush the process, and it doesn't. And then that's when you end up with P in the dating pool.
Yeah, that's how they market it, right? eHarmony and all of those other websites is marketed yeah, you can come over here and we'll scientifically use some metrics to help you find your soulmate. Listen, I know who's not on the dating app. Her name is Vivica Fox. Vivica Fox said, hey, I'm up in age. I'm not going on no dating app, but I am taking applications because I want a new boyfriend. And they can go over here to this website and apply. So as you can see, this is Vivica right here. She says at the age of 60, she is finally looking for a husband and is taking boyfriend applications. Quote, I'm not getting on an app. He must be fun, loves to travel, not intimidated by who I am, and lets me spend money going shopping, open to all races, end quote. So, Miss Lala.
Yes.
Miss Vivica said she is taking boyfriend applications. Is this a great strategy?
No, no, because you know what? You're going to get all kinds, and you're not, once again, you're not going back to the basics. Listen, we all here have said we have, just within the four of us, we all have said we have friends looking for love. It used to be where people like us, the ones who knew that, would be like, hey, George would be great for Athena. I would love to be able to see those two get together and see if they would make it work. You know, there's nothing wrong with being able to talk to people in your own circles who know you and also know someone else. Like my niece is great at that. We call her the matchmaker. When she knows that two people are going to, she's like, oh, they'll click. And every last time they end up being great couples. We have to look at our own communities. Now, Vivica can do whatever Vivica wants to do. To me, taking applications, it sounds more like a job to me than wanting to be something serious. People see that as a joke. And if she's really serious, then why don't you get down and dirty with it? Let's start really looking at your circles. I don't need a website to put in an application to be your girlfriend or your wife or your friend, and for that matter. Let's get back to the basics of going within your circles and talking to the people within your circles, because 9 times out of 10, they may have someone that fits you perfectly. And I'm still for that. I just came from that community. You know, that's my community of growing up. Susan would go good with George or blah, blah, blah. And usually when you have those people, when you know their heart and you don't want to see either one of them hurt, you do tend to present the right people to the right time. Does it always work? No, but you try. And most people that I have put together have either gotten married or still together or just decided, no, we just don't fit. And that's okay too.
Thank you for that. Listen, Dr. Lene, Vivica's taking applications for a boyfriend. It doesn't seem like the requirements are set very, very high. I could imagine Prison Babe or Jail Babe. I remember Prison Babe we talked about the other week. I could imagine him applying for that job to be her boyfriend. So my question to you, Dr. Lene, is do you think the application process is rigorous enough for Miss Fox? And what sorts of things should we be looking for when we're looking for boyfriends or putting out these applications? Oh, you're muted, Dr. Lene. But you are a great strategist. So I definitely need to know the requirements.
I was saying I can either confirm or deny because I have not seen the application. So I'm glad you went into the second piece of it, which is what should be on it. Because I think, is it going to be rigorous? Without having seen it, I don't know. But just from what I know of Vivica and her personality and what she's looking for, I would expect that there's going to be some things on there that would make it a little bit rigorous. But if it were me, right, and I was putting out an application, the things that I'm looking for, right, and I'm gonna be honest, so if y'all want to come for me in the comments, you can, but I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. This would be on my application. How tall are you? Because that's important to me, right? I'm 5'9", I'm about 2+, and so you know how tall you are, it plays a factor. I wear heels, and so I'm about a good 6 feet in my heels, and I don't want to be the tall one. I'm looking at your teeth. And now these are not in order. I'm just giving them to you as they're coming to my brain, right? Do you love the Lord? Can you pray over me? That's an important one. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you have any children? What's your relationship like with their mothers? That's going to be important to me. How do you get along with your exes? What's your relationship like with your mother? What's your relationship like with your children? What do you enjoy to do? Do you like to travel? I have a PhD. Are you okay with that? You good? Like those are the types of things that would be on it for me, because those are like some of the things that I run up against. I'm not how much money you make, because the type of man that you are will tell me. That's for the 5 to 10 years question, right? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? That answer will tell me about the other things I need to know. If you're talking about, upgrading to a Honda Accord, I already know what's going on. I know. But if you're talking about, I'm good, I see myself in a 10,000 square foot home. Okay, cool. Let's talk about some things. How can we do this? So I think you can ask certain questions to kind of figure out who a person is, man or a woman. That as a woman, this is what I'd be asking. But I think men, you got to ask these women some of these questions too, right? Because you got to ask her, what is her relationship like with her son's father, or her daughter's father? It's not the We put a lot of emphasis on what women should be asking men, but men should be asking women some of these same questions, because we are not above acting a plumb fool, showing up crazy in relationships. Both parties should be asking questions, interviewing, seeing what too many of Black men have had babies with crazy women, the same way that we as beautiful Black women have had children with crazy men. We don't take enough time. I'm gonna raise my hand. I was about to, thank you, Lord. I was about to convict myself. We don't take enough time to get to know the person that we're getting into a relationship with. And I'm raising my hand because I met my son's father in August and I was pregnant in October. That was the conviction as I was getting ready to say it. We don't take, luckily for me, it's a blessed situation. Me and my son's father are cool. That's my homeboy, is my best friend. We still talk today for 2 and 3 hours. My son will be 24 next month. We cool, we get along. We co-parented amazing. I picked a great one. But I have had relationships where we sped past the friendship and the relationship was raggedy. Had we put more time in getting to know each other, asking those questions, having not an interview, but asking the right questions, things would, I think, have gotten better. So hopefully she does have a rigorous process where she's asking those questions. At 60, I think she better knows who she is, what she wants, and can communicate.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you. That is a great list. It seems very well rounded, Dr. Lene. There was a lot on there. I do want to see Ms. Vivica's application. So let's talk about money, because you brought up a lot of points about money, Dr. Lene. Athena, do you check credit scores? Are you like, is there a prerequisite for bank accounts, trust funds, and those types of things? And what types of things should women be looking for? What are good indicators about like wealth? Like, is this somebody I can get with to make my money grow or build generational wealth? What do you think? You're muted.
Sorry, we need to get better with that. So Vivica did say she needed a man that will allow her to shop, honey. So knowing her and her being a celebrity, I do think that will be financial aspects of relationships will be a consideration. I actually think Vivica should have worked with if I was in her status, I would work with like an actual matchmaker versus like trying to just put this out there, because it kind of makes her look a little bit desperate. And I know she hasn't been able to recover in her love life since 50 Cent. So I know that's been a hard bar to top. As a CPA, and I do discuss this with women, the financial aspects of relationship when it comes to their money. And it is important to consider a man's financial, not only his financial background and how much money he does have, but his habits around and his mindset and his thinking around money and how that applies to you and your relationship, and also your goals in creating wealth. Because I also teach this in my course, the 3 ways women historically and currently still acquire wealth is either through family inheritance, marriage, or on their own career or business. So those are the 3 ways. So if you weren't born into money by a rich family, or if you have not married wealthy, and within the Black community, the chances of doing that is very low, then, your ways and pathway to wealth is going to be you creating wealth on your own and hopefully your partner. I do think that hypergamy is a necessity at this point because not only from the financial aspect, so dating at your level, financially or above, but also when you do date men who make less than you, there's other negative aspects that tend to happen in the relationship because how he feels about it is not going to be positive, and that's going to be something that's playing out in the background of your relationship. I've experienced that, and I've also seen that every professional woman I know who make more than their partner have certain issues that they face that negatively impact their relationship because they have to do this extra work and massaging of their partner's ego to make them feel comfortable around their lifestyle or the life that they have together because she is a breadwinner. So if you want to just cut that off completely, cut that issue out completely, that's my recommendation. And I do think that from the standpoint of men, they do feel better when they're able to do for you. I think a man does want to add value to a woman and to your life, and they start to question that when you don't.
Thank you for that. And I know Dr. Lene said one of her questions is, hey, I have a PhD. You cool with that, right? Because that can kind of be a thing. Dr. Lene, I kind of wanted to circle back to you. Oh, and then Lala as well. I see that the chat is pretty interesting. I'm not sure what's going on in there, but
listen, the chat is very interesting. I want to speak to. I've been reading all these different comments from Linda Anderson. Producer, can you put up the one at 1042? Dear Black men, look elsewhere. Other races of women are better. This generation of Black women were raised to be concubines, not wives. This is very disheartening to hear from a Black woman. If this is literally a Black woman's account, I'm praying that this is a troll and that this is not a legit Black woman feeding this narrative and these lies, because this is inaccurate. I don't know of a single Black woman that wants to be a concubine or was raised to be a concubine. I don't know of a single Black woman that does not want to be a wife. Society, real life relationships, I'm not even going to say social media, but I can say the government, I can say the system, I can say those things have pitted Black men and Black women against each other. And then we, as a community, have perpetuated it. Men and women, homes without fathers, relationships that do not last, communication that's not happening, women not saying what they want, men not saying what they want, people going along to get along, doing something because the other person wants to do, but you really don't. Like, there are issues innately in relationship, not just Black ones, but in relationship. And I will say, Black men, do not give up on Black women. Do not turn elsewhere. Do not go elsewhere. Black women, do not give up on Black men. Do not go elsewhere. Do not turn your back on what belongs to you, what is yours. Now, if you're a person who believes that you can date anybody and you don't see color, by all means, do what floats your boat, boo. But I would like to ask Black people not to be out here making it worse, spreading harm, sharing lies, being untruthful, tearing down. You're a part of the problem. If you can't add to the narrative or the conversation with solutions in a positive manner, then don't add anything. Just don't say anything. We have too many people on social media, keyboard gangsters, talking trash and not adding to a positive, productive, uplifting narrative or solution. That's all I have to say about
Well, Dr. Lene, she said what she had to say. Lala, do we need to read anybody else in the chat? What's going on over here? I mean, this conversation.
I do have someone that is very interesting because we're women. So a lot of people come in here and they say, things like, well, they don't know the man's perspective. Well, no, we don't always know the man's perspective because we're coming at it at a perspective of women. And it doesn't mean that we don't have male friends or we don't acknowledge the male energy in our lives. He said, not one man on the panel, but the discussion centers on men's perspectives. Well, you probably didn't join us from the beginning, so you should probably go back and watch the replay. We were discussing how a young lady is having issues finding a Black man for her. And this is what the whole topic is about. And no one on this panel has put down any Black man or said that it's not worth your time to find that partner. What we're coming at is a place of, how do you find this when you are looking? And it seems that we all know someone who's looking on both sides of the fence, but somehow they're not connecting. So what is it that we are doing as a society, as friends, as our point of view, to get people over this hump of this debunked narrative that Black men, good Black men, are not out there, and good Black women are not out there? Because that is false, and that's what they want you to believe. But we know differently, and I'm pretty sure that you know differently in your life too. So what is it that we can do as a society to stop this madness of these lies and really start putting together people who want to be in love? Isn't that what it's about? I mean, that's just what I was taught. I mean, I grew up, all my aunties and uncles lived until they were 80, 90, and they were still together. I had good foundation of seeing what a good relationship was. So I also want that for myself, and I also want that for others, because there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. So it's not about who's on the panel and who's not on the panel. We are talking about how we can overcome this myth to get more love into the world. Simple as that. Then you're diving into the narrative. There's no men on the panel. No, but we do have an interesting perspective as well.
Absolutely. And this is the perfect time to go to commercial. You are tuned into Fly Nubian Queen TV, and this is our weekday Fly Nubian Money panel. And we're here weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Fly Nubian Queen TV's YouTube channel. So be sure to text the word Queens, Queens, right? As in women, as in Black women. Text the word Queens to the number 87948. That way you'll be notified when we do go live and we have cool things going on. And we welcome brothers to come over and share their ideas and be in community with us. But this is a network that definitely centers the perspectives and narratives of Black women. So you're at Fly Nubian Queen TV's YouTube channel. And also you can go over to our website and check out flynubianmoney.com, because we have many programs over there. We talk about how to get your money straight. So y'all tried it though, but it's all good. So with that being said, I don't even know. Let's talk about therapy, because I think that we can't leave this conversation. We talked about finances and mindset, but the importance of mental health support and getting therapy for both Black women and Black men. I want to sort of get your perspectives on that, whether this could be a viable vehicle to sort of bridge the gap and deal with the trauma that is experienced in many within the community. Let's hear from Athena.
Okay, I almost bust out my tambourine, because from my experience, I do think from both sides now that therapy is a must. And I don't think that a lot of us use that as a way of introspection and to really get to the root of some of our dysfunctional behavior and lack of dating success. I have met men who have done therapy or said that they have, and I really question the quality of their therapy. And I have met women who have done therapy and dating school and wife school and all these other things. I do think that what is plaguing part of us not coming together is that we do have a lot of trauma as a community. I cannot tell you how many men I've been on dates or I've known who have said or told me things that have been very traumatic experiences that do show up negatively in their dating life, and quite frankly prevented me from even continuing dating them, because not because of the trauma and stuff, but your response to it and how that would negatively and how it did negatively impact any kind of communication and relationship. So I think that especially because of slavery and all the other factors of oppression that we face as a group, I do think that therapy is a must at this point for success.
Thank you so much, Lala.
Well, here's what I think. And, I may sound like I've been thrown back into the 40s and 50s. We all have to understand that we have our own issues. And no matter whether it's something that we've seen in our household or something that we have seen around us, maybe you didn't come from the same type of community that I came from. Maybe you came from an area where you didn't see a lot of marriages last a very long time. That does not mean what you saw put around you is your reality. Okay. What people think and what people do around you is not your reality. So you can always improve upon yourself. You always can reflect upon yourself. You always can take the time to grow and go outside to the therapy world to see where it is that you may be lacking that you can improve upon. I know many years ago, there's still a few out there. I've seen some on social media where they used to have these beautiful etiquette classes where girls would go and do their thing and the boys would go and do their thing, and they were taught how to be gentlemen and the girls were taught how to be gracious, and then they would have these beautiful balls and they would be able to come together and practice those skills. I think that we are lacking in that today, and I would love to see that come back. It doesn't mean that it's old fashioned, but it does open up a different mindset to how do you start becoming the person that you want to attract into your life. So is therapy a good thing? I say so. I've been to therapy many times to improve upon myself where I know that I've had roadblocks. And not only does it enhance me, but it enhances my relationship with my husband, because now I am a better person so that I can be a better person for him too. So I think that therapy is a good thing all the time in anything that you want to improve upon, because you can be your own roadblock. So get that roadblock out of the way.
Thank you for that, Dr. Lene. What are your perspectives on therapy?
Yeah, I don't disagree with therapy. I don't disagree with it at all, because therapy does it. What therapy has done for me is it has allowed me to say the things that I've been walking around with that I haven't said, to look at the things that I didn't look at, to just release some stuff that you're carrying around. But before I had therapy, I did self-reflection. I looked at the relationships that I had been in, the outcomes of those relationships. And what I found was I had put myself in the exact same situations 2 times in a row. If I closed my eyes, I had dated the same person, the exact same outcome, the exact same situation. I was like, these are 2 different people, X amount of years apart. How did I end up in the same situation? What is the common thread? And it was me. I was the common thread, who I was and how I showed up. So I had to start doing some serious soul searching, self-reflecting, getting to some of my ugly ways, how I act, my traumas, what I say, what I don't say, how I show up, why I stayed. It was very hard. And it can be embarrassing. It could be hurtful. But it wasn't until I took myself through those things that I was able to mature in relationship to be a better partner. It even helped me with my therapy, because now I can speak about myself in a way that's like, this is how I show up. This is what I do. Now my therapist can be like, well, why is that? Well, let's dissect that. That's what I'm here for. Why do I do that? But if you don't even take that first look at you, because it's always somebody else, he did me wrong, she did me wrong, you know what you're doing, because you'll say, how do I find myself in this situation again? If you've ever said that to yourself, unpack that. How did you find yourself in this situation again? Because you'll start to see things in the people that you date. You'll start to see things in the things that you don't say. You'll start to see things in the things that you settle for. You'll start to see things in the type of person that you go after. But it's hard to take that self look because you have to really be honest. And now you got to deal with some things that you didn't want to deal with. I used to tell my mom used to say to me, you have issues. And I'd be like, I know, I'm just not ready to deal with them. Because I did. I knew I had issues. I just don't want to deal with them right now. Who want to deal with their issues? Like, I don't want to look at myself. I'm a mess. But it wasn't until I really started looking at myself that relationships got better, life got better, my business got better, how I communicate got better, the opportunities that were coming at me got better, all from just taking a moment to look at me. That's what I would say. So if you can do therapy, by all means do therapy, but you still got to take the time to look at yourself.
Absolutely. That's a whole word, Dr. Lene. And thank you. And thank you to everybody in the chat. I see Linda keeps popping up. Linda, I'm going to pray for you. I really believe your name is Linda. I think you're a dude. You might be a little, maybe a disgruntled manosphere, Kevin Samuels called follower, but it's okay. You are still loved. You are still loved by these Black women over here. Either way. We are going to go around and have final words. We talked about many, many perspectives in this conversation. Are Black women giving up on Black men? And let's go to Lala. Final words, final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Love is a beautiful thing, but you have to love yourself first. Really get to know who you are, what it is that you want, so that you can start beaming out those love beams and someone can answer that call. No, it's not always that easy, but if you don't have self-love for yourself, you can attract the love that you desire. And you can find me very easily, I made it easy, at bit.ly/Laura Key Info.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Athena?
My final thoughts would be this, that are Black women giving up on Black men? I would say not all of us, but I do think there's some fatigue. And I do think that we need to get rid of the viewpoint that non-Black men are better. The issue is men across the board. If you are a woman who is interested in growing your wealth and to create your wealthy goddess life, you can find me at wewealthwomen.com. I am Athena. I am a CPA and women's wealth coach.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Lene?
Hey, so I will leave with, I am a Black woman. I birthed a young Black man. A Black man gave life to me in my mother's womb. I will never give up on the Black man. I love Black men. I love Black women. I love Black people. And we have to keep love at the forefront for how we talk to each other, how we deal with each other, how we guide each other, how we relate to each other. Across the board, whether you date outside of your race or not, be one, always, every day. I am Dr. Lene Javette. I am a monetization strategist, a business coach, and I help people to create strategies that bring them money, but more importantly, give them success. And you can find me on social media at I am Dr. Lene Javette. Thank you so much for having me today.
Excellent. Thank you. And I'm your host. I'm Jade Harrell. Really grateful to have been able to lead this conversation. I am a race loyalist. I think that word came up. I'm also a familyist. I have a t-shirt that says familyist, not feminist. And so my dedication and loyalty will always be with the Black man. I believe in Black families and Black love. And I learned how to be a good Black woman from the Black women and the Black men in my family. My grandparents, my parents, everybody was married. And so, you know, I was very blessed in that sense. And so I would say just hold the vision and also know that there's nobody in the room but yourself and God. And so when we see people and things, we're attracting certain people and energies into our life, then that's an opportunity for us to check in with, okay, how am I showing up and what is coming up within me that's being reflected on the outside and these people that I'm dating. You all can find me at highblackesteem.com. I do coaching around activists, movers, and shakers in the Black community that want to expand their impact and do service-related projects in the Black community. And so go over to highblackesteem.com and we really get into that. And I also want to do a shameless plug and testimonial. I came up with this brand and I got all of the workings of the brand while I was working with Dr. Lene in one of her courses. So I highly recommend that you go over and check out everything that Dr. Lene has. She will get you straight. She will be a great demonstration of what Black excellence is and take your brand to the next level. I know that for a fact. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to come over here at flynubianqueentv.com. You will see all Black women on these panels. Okay, it's okay, brothers. You are welcome. You don't have to feel away about it, but if you want to hear the perspectives of Black women that are very, very diverse, come over to flynubianqueen.com. These are our Fly Nubian Money panels. We're here weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and we always have dope topics. Be willing to hit the like button, subscribe button, and share these conversations with folks. And also text the word Queens with an S to the number 87948. That's 87948. And you'll be notified when we do go live and when we have free offers and stuff. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say, keep Black love alive. And thank you, ladies, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in and tapping in with us. We are so grateful.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Fly Nubian Money. We are here to help you master your mindset, maximize your money. And I'm Lindsay Vertner, your host today, joined with my two beautiful co-queens. And today we are talking about extravagant proms, okay? Proms that cost Black people tens of thousands of dollars by recent stats lately. Now, is this too much? We're going to discuss all of that and more. We're going to talk about the mindset and financial lessons of these prom extravaganzas. But first, let me introduce my co-queens. We have Miss Erica Lewis, and she is the author of Faith in Transition, My Journey to 50, Life, Love, and Lessons, an amazing book. And we have Marlo Layson. She is a journalist and documentary filmmaker, and myself, Lindsay Vertner, mindset coach and speaker. So, ladies, we have to get right into this. To kick off our discussion, let's just go ahead and talk about the crazy things that people are spending on their proms. Now, recently, Tamron Hall had a guest where a mom spent $16,000 on her daughter's prom. And I believe that we have a clip of that. Can we run that clip? It's loading. It's loading. So while that is loading, Miss Marlo, talk to us, because I know you have some older babies. Mine aren't prom age.
Let's start there.
Here goes the clip.
But I'm going to go to the money because you're supposed to. Maricel, I love you. You love this kid. The dress was $1,300, right? The shoes were $4,900. The send-off was $3,900. Your hair was $175. They gave you a great price on the hair. $750 on photos and videos. $4,000 on a car rental. And you got the hotel so everyone could get ready, and that was $1,600. The total was $16,625.
Listen, Miss Marlo, because I know your babies are older, what are your initial thoughts around this trend of spending thousands of dollars on your child's prom?
Sorry, I was muted. Without judging people's actions too much, I just feel like it's not for me. It's a no for me. My older two children weren't really into prom as much, and they've been out of school a couple years, and prom was, I think, creeping to this extravagance. My younger daughter is into social media. She likes to be lit, but she's reasonable, right? So I'll probably be able to talk her down into something that that is a more reasonable and conscionable to me as an adult. I I don't see it. I don't see a reason for it, but to each his own, and people can do what they want to do. To me, it feels like living vicariously through your child. And I don't know these parents enough to say that for sure, but I am a parent, and I know sometimes when you have missed opportunities, it kind of makes you want to do more for your child and kind of do the most for them. So I think that that's what a little bit of this reads to me. But then it's also social media, right? Like social media, one thing begets another, right? If we look at the bodies and where we are with the way that bodies looks, right? If we look at spending, I never saw people, except for people that were in the underworld, really flashing money in photographs. Now people get their income tax check and lay it out like they've been out hustling all night. Like it's so a lot of this stuff is driven also by social media and people wanting to look the part, right? They want to look, they want their picture to be as fly as the celebrities, because we're all intermingling together. It used to be separated, right? There used to be magazines and celebrity photos were over there, but now we all on Instagram, and people want to get the taps, and they want to have a better social reaction, if you will, to their child's prom as a celebrity's child, right? So I think that it's kind of a combination of a few things that we're seeing right now, but it's a no for me, dog. I can't see it.
Now, Miss Erica, I know you don't have any kids at the moment, and so from your perspective, how do you feel about this trend?
You know, it's funny because I remember when I went to the prom in 91. I graduated in 91, and I remember my mother. But looking back then, I was like, oh my God, mommy, this is just too much. My mother rolled out a white carpet from the driveway. We lived in an apartment, and she rolled out this white carpet down the driveway and had my date meet me at the edge. And I had on a black and white dress. It was like a $250 dress and some basic pumps, and but she had the car, she had this. And I remember thinking my mother went all out, when actuality she was like, she had never gone to her prom and she wanted me to have a great experience. And I personally didn't really want to go to the prom. I was just happy to be graduating from the high school that I wanted to go to forever, because it was a family tradition. I went to Arts. Oops, knocked down my microphone. I went to Arts High, so I was living the family tradition, but I really was not interested in going to the prom. But I went anyway, and to look and see people spending $16,000 on a prom, it's like that money could have been used for something else. And like we were talking earlier, pre-show, if you can find that kind of money to invest in for the prom, you can find that kind of money to make better decisions with, to invest in something else that's going to produce fruit for the entire family down the line.
Yes, that is a great point. And I know on the Tamron Hall clip, I'm not sure, I didn't watch that whole episode, so I'm not sure if more was said. But on the one hand, we don't know, did she spend money on education or on her child's future, or was she like scraping to pay for this prom? So some of these things were like, okay, well, do we really know their financial background, or do we not? According to statistics, a lot of poor people are, putting themselves in more debt trying to show out for these proms with their kids. So we have to think about all of the financial aspects. Are you actually investing and putting money towards college and things like that? I love that RL says that $16,000 is way too excessive, that the rest could have been put towards college. And another comment says, why do we glorify prom is a question. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you are just tuning in, make sure that you text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. And that way you can stay updated. You can receive notifications on when we go live. We are here with our dynamic group of hosts Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, always talking about the topics on Fly Nubian Queen, okay? Getting your money mindset and financials in check, okay? So let's get back into this discussion, all right? So Here's the thing. We have promflation. According to statistics, Visa done a survey where the average American family spends around $919 on prom. Now that's between the tickets, the dresses and tuxes, haircuts, shoes, all of those different things. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I think less than $100 on my dress. I think prom tickets were probably like $30. We went out to eat and that was that. Like, I don't know where these numbers have came from. And I believe social media has been a big part of that. And one of you brought that up, right?
It absolutely is. I think when I went to prom, I rented my dress. I didn't even keep the dress. There was a cute little place because New Orleans is always having a ball of some sort, debutante, Mardi Gras. So there were always really great places where you could rent a dress. Me and all my friends rented our we rented our prom dresses. We bought the sparkly shoes that they had at the prom store for like $30. I think our dates rented cars. We went out to eat and then we went on the lake. Like it wasn't, I don't even remember the actual prom. I remember the things leading up to and after more than I remember being at the actual prom location, right? So I don't see spending that type of money. I'm more of if I have the money, let's sit down, let's talk about your future, right? I don't, unless that's just who your kid is. Maybe your kid just wants to shine, right? Because that's also part of being Black people is some of us really like to shine and look flashy and look like we have it, whether we have it or not, right? So maybe some people are catering to their kids' personalities, but I think social media and that kind of instant gratification of people telling you, you look so good, oh, you're so smart, or whatever is happening in the comment section with the likes and the double tapping and all the things are definitely contributing to people's needs to, one, be included, and two, be, kind of get that gratification, that dopamine response you get from people saying, something nice to you. So I think there's many, many things that are at play in terms of that. But
yes. And looking at some of these dresses, many of them have been custom designed. I think I went to JCPenney and found a dress. I mean, I thought it was cute. It was it wasn't doing all of the things that these current dresses are, but custom designs, all the beads and the jewels, glitter, all of the things. These look like high fashion dresses. Like, look at this one with a helicopter in the back. Now, you can't tell me that was $100 dress. They probably dropped quite a bit on either the making of that dress or purchasing that dress. And if we actually look at the breakdown of costs, let's see, dresses are ranging from $100 to $600. Tuxedo rentals are averaging about $150. And then you throw in the hair, makeup, nails, all of those things, spending $200 to $300 for just the makeup part. And then transportation, renting a limo, $200 to $500. But these people are renting Bentleys and helicopters. That's going to go over this average $200 to $500. And then you throw on the price of tickets and photos and things like that. Erica, what were any of these luxuries maybe that your mom spent for you outside of the white carpet?
Girl, my mother was like, realistically, you're getting a car. I didn't have a I didn't have a limo. We had a town car. And in the 90s, that was a difference. So the limo was limoing and my town car was like right in the middle. We did have a driver whose name escapes me. But my dress was $200 and it was from a store called Fit Right that my grandmother used to shop in. And we had a line of credit. So my mother was able to pay that dress off for a period of time. She did spend quite a bit of money on my shoes because, we are shoe women. So she got me a nice pair of pot de soie. They used to be called, I don't know what they're calling them now, but dyeables, and she had them dyed. And, you know, I wore, you know, my long sleeve gloves. I wish I had some pictures to show, because I mean, I was cute. I think I spent $75 on getting my hair done, but I did the color and the perm myself. I just went for the cut. So I think, you know, I was thinking about this earlier, when the big shift for proms started to happen, I remember when Halle Berry won that Oscar for Monsters Ball. Remember her dress? And then when everyone saw that dress at the Oscars, everybody wanted to wear that dress for prom. I so remember that. And I think from that moment on, this is Halle Berry's fault. I'm going to blame Halle. It's Halle's fault. Halle had on that amazing dress made by Elie Saab, I believe her name was. And Halle just looked exquisite. And from that moment on, it's kind of been a trend to kind of take from pop culture, from what I remember, just kind of take from pop culture and apply it to real life. But I mean, we have to take into consideration that those dresses that we see on red carpets and at the Oscars and at award shows, those are on loaner. A lot of that stuff goes back because honestly, you can't wear it again, as you can't wear your prom dress again.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of the outfits, the glitz and glam that we see celebrities in these photos and these red carpets, they get sent back. They didn't pay for those. They wear them. The designer gets the promotion, and then they go back to the designer. They aren't spending thousands of dollars. They get a lot of freebies, even if they do get to keep it. And I think that's a missing key that a lot of people aren't understanding whenever it's time to purchase for themselves or for their children. Like, okay, you don't get the celebrity perks. You got to pay it or they're coming for you.
When something is so extravagant, you just can't wear it again. You just can't use it again. And I don't think, and I've seen some prom dresses and I'm like, oh my God, Beyonce's mama dress, y'all? Like, these folks are dressed to kill. And it's like, you can't wear this dress ever again. And while you look amazing in it, like this young lady looks absolutely beautiful, it's just like, if instead of having a $3,000-$4,000 dress, I probably would have wanted to take that money and invest it in a car so that now I can drive to school, or I can drive to work, or whatever her dreams and aspirations are.
Listen, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money with myself, Lindsay Vertner, and my beautiful co-hosts, Miss Erica Lewis and Marlo Layson. And we are talking about this crazy new prom trend, or new as in the past decade or so. How long has this been going on? And parents spending thousands of dollars on their child's prom. Now, make sure you text the word Queens, Queens, plural, okay, Queens, to 87948 so that you can get notifications and stay updated on when we're going live. And we are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern with our dynamic group of hosts. All right, so let's get back into this discussion. I want to talk a little bit about the mindset of where this trend is coming from. We already talked about social media. Of course, everybody wants to keep up with what they're seeing, not realizing that oftentimes social media is a highlight reel. But are these parents living vicariously through their kids or not? What do you think, Marlo?
I think I said it earlier. I definitely think in some cases that is what we are seeing, right? I know people, I know people personally who have gone over the top, and their explanation has been, I'm giving her everything that I didn't have, which, you know, that's your life, your kid, absolutely fine. But I think emphasizing the importance that this is one day of many, right? This is not the highlight of your life. This is a highlight moment within your life. Because I know that, like, kids' minds and the way that kids are, they may not even process that this over the topness is not really reality, right? Not talking about rich, you know, uber rich celebrity kids who just move in a different way, period. But I think that just regular run-of-the-mill working class folks who are trying to go over the top for their kids, just making sure that everybody understands that this is one day of many, and I don't know, are the expectations being set too high? That's what I keep asking myself. Like, are you setting yourself up at this point just for super high expectations that can't be met? And you are you creating um, little monsters of people who just think everything is supposed to be lit and everything is supposed to be so over the top and everything is supposed to be like dressed up. Like, this is above me. I'm so grateful for my kids right now. When we get off, I'm gonna call my adult kids up and be like, "Thank you so much for being just sweet people," because I don't even understand this. Honestly, y'all.
Yes, even the mom in the Tamron Hall clip, she mentioned that, I'm kind of living through my daughter. And so she admitted that right on the show. And I think maybe a lot of parents are doing just that, living vicariously through their kids and trying to give them the life that maybe they didn't have. But I want to touch on one other potential perspective that may be going on, because I know that we feel like, especially Black women, are not going to get married. So maybe there's some subconscious fear that, all right, we got to do it big for prom because they all got to go to school, or they're going to take me to jail if I don't send them to school. But we do it big for prom. We have this big moment. And then if they never end up getting married, we kind of had that moment, because now these proms are costing more than weddings these days, which to me is ridiculous. How do you feel about that, Erica?
I think one thing that I think we are forgetting is that kids are only kids for 18 years. And then everything after that, you're just an adult. But you have a core of 18 years to be a kid. And I think when parents or adults start living vicariously through that little chunk of time, they actually steal away potential moments that could be an attribute to their childhood, which could affect their adulthood. So I think living vicariously is a dangerous thing. Yes, I think all moms have done it with their daughters. Like, oh my God, I remember when my waistline was that small. Oh my God, I remember when my feet were that small before I got pregnant with you. And I mean, I think that's the great mother-daughter thing connection. Because my mother just told me, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, oh, I can't fit these shoes anymore. I used to be a size 9, but after I had you, my feet spread. So I wore a 10. And, so she gave me these shoes because she ordered the wrong size. So I think, having that connection, but having a true understanding, your kids only have this much time to be a kid. And it's so important to encourage that. Another thing I wanted to chime in is that when we look at our communities, in basic everyday urban communities, of African-American children. And then we look at that of African-American kids whose families are living near or around our counterparts, so to speak, or living in wealthy communities, or their kids are going to private school. Those kids don't dress like that. They don't have these extravagant send-offs. These kids that go into suburban area schools or private schools, they all get on the party bus. And they're not even having dates. They all just go together because we've been friends for the last small block of time, and we're going to go hang out together because this is kind of our last hurrah, because we're all going separate ways to school. So I really think we need to just kind of refocus and say, is it worth spending all this money when I could just take this money and put it aside, and by the time little Johnny graduates from college or whatever school he's going to go to, I can invest this money and get a return on it and say, here, son, here's your gift for graduating college. And now he has money to set himself up for an apartment to relocate for his new job or the next levels in life.
Yes. I love this comment by M. West that says the Black prom is the Black wedding that never happens. And I think we've just, at least in America, we've become accustomed to images of the Black woman or the Black man doesn't get married. We're single moms and single fathers. And so we have this subconscious fear that it's never going to happen whenever there are healthy Black marriages out there. But the media doesn't want to show those, right? We got to start to change the narrative. And I think that starts with shows like this and us just promoting that, hey, Black wealth does exist, and Black education and Black healthy relationships and Black businesses, all of those things do exist. And they existed way before time, before our entities and everything was stolen from us. We come from royalty. We come from wealth. We come from all things extravagant and abundance, and then we're stolen from our land and we're stripped of our identities. We're stripped of our wealth. Even when we try to build back up here in America, our communities and our businesses and things like that, they would burn them down and strip it away again. So it's this subconscious trauma that we have to get healed, essentially. And it's showing up in all the ways, i.e., extravagant proms.
And I think, you made a great point there, right? Connecting it back to our origin story, which a lot of us are so disconnected from, we don't know. I would love to, because I've seen some Nigerian proms. I thought that they were like Black Americans, but they were actually, some were Nigerian, some were South African, and they were pretty extravagant too. And I'm wondering if there is some type of a connection to Black people. We like to be a little flashy. We like to be fly. We like to, make a show. We like to throw a nice party. Culturally, like typically we like to have a nice time, and do recreational things that sometimes cost a lot of money, right? But I wonder if we look at Nigerian and Caribbean and South African people, if when they do these extravagant type of parties, is it more like a bar mitzvah, right? Is it more like a party send off, setting you up where do the children get money? Do the children get some type of endowment? Do they get money for college? Is there some type of gifting from the community, from the family that happens at these extravagant send-offs, right? As like you said, a last hurrah, right? This is the last time we're all going to be together before you leave. Let's have this party. Let's support you. Let's prepare you for whatever your next endeavor is, right? I would be curious to know if those parties, right, by our native land counterparts, if those have more of a send-off type of significance, right, as opposed to, and be more like a bar mitzvah where it is a party with a purpose, right? Like, we're gonna throw this big extravagant party, but in the end, it's because you're crossing over into this new part of your life, and we are celebrating you and also setting you up for the future. I'd be curious to know if that's happening overseas, and we just aren't understanding that cultural kind of historical portion of it, and we're just mimicking what we're seeing in terms of the flashy part, and in terms of Black America.
Yes, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money with my beautiful hosts, Erica Lewis and Marla Layson, and myself, Lindsay Vertner. And today we are talking about spending tens of thousands of dollars on your child's prom, these extravagant prom send-offs that have taken over specifically the Black community and just taking the world by storm. So make sure you text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens with an S, Queens to 87948, so that you can stay updated and get notifications on when we're going live Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern with our dynamic group of hosts. So getting back into this discussion, I know that you just mentioned the bar mitzvah. And I love that you brought that up, because people are calling these prom send-offs a coming of age for the Black community. And the difference here is that everybody goes to prom. All the high schools in the U.S. have proms across cultures. And so with bar mitzvahs, that's native to the Jewish community. With quinceañeras, that's native to the Latin community. And like you said, they have this endowment where they are gifting the child with something as they are headed into adulthood. And I think that dynamic of event has been lost specifically for Black Americans. And I think it's just us trying to grasp at something of that type. And it's like, how do we bring the Black delegation together to say, hey, let's have this coming of age that's just for our culture that everybody is doing.
There are opportunities for those coming of age for our community. It's called Jack and Jill, and it's an opportunity for you to get involved and teach your daughters, your sons, to actually get those etiquette classes, and understanding silverware and proper glassware and table etiquette, and then having those coming of age parties, and really getting that next level social piece, so that they feel like they're getting something with their peers in coming of age. Versus, I mean, you're going to spend $16,000 on a prom. I'm not sure as to what the dues are or registration is for a Jack and Jill, or if it's based on where you are in the world. However, I would rather spend that $16,000 on investing in my son or daughter going to Jack and Jill versus on a prom. I mean, because what I'm going to get out of my child from that Jack and Jill, what they're going to get out of it, and what I'm going to get out of it, is going to last a little bit longer than what this prom experience have. Not saying that, not saying that the prom is not a great experience, but you want to have that etiquette. You want to be able to have the table etiquette, the manners, being able to have conversation, understanding what your palate is, and things of that nature. So I just think it's all about making investment and making right choices.
I like that you brought up Jack and Jill, because how many of us are aware that that even exists? I know I never even heard of it until I left for college. By then, of course, I was aged out of it. But then, we got to think about how many of us are making it to college, because if I wasn't on scholarship, I probably wouldn't have been at college. My older brother was on athletic scholarship, and then I myself was on an academic scholarship, but I can't see my mother being able to afford college had I not gotten a scholarship. And so that's really whenever I first kind of got attuned to, oh wait, there's Black people out here that ain't struggling to pay their bills. I mean, I knew it was out there, but I never really met them and hung out with them. And
right, like, I want to know those people. Can I meet them?
And so just thinking about how many people are even aware that something like Jack and Jill exists. And then I don't know the finances, the financial cost of participating in Jack and Jill, but once they become aware of it, are they able to afford it? But it's like you said, if they can afford these $16,000 proms, they can afford Jack and Jill.
I mean, it's a valid question. It's all about perspective and the reality of it. Like, I could sit here and like, I have been seeing on the road. I mean, this is a little bit off from the prom. I've been seeing a lot on the road. I've been seeing a lot of Maseratis where I live. And I'm talking about regular folks driving Maserati, the truck or the car. And I'm thinking to myself, I was going to get a Toyota, but you know what? Maybe I can't afford a Maserati. Let me look at my budget. Maybe I'm shortchanging myself. So I really think that we need to just start looking at what is realistic, and then looking at options. If I can get a hold of $16,000, do I really want to spend that on a prom dress that this girl is never going to put on again? And we can't even just say the girls, because I have seen some mamas put their boys honey, they are treating their sons like kings. Some of these sons are out here looking better than their dates. So, I mean, people are really making this a high-powered investment. But then again, like I said before, it's misplaced energy of money. And money, as we know, is energy. And we have to start putting it in the avenue of our children, where we're going to get a return from the child and from the money to start building that legacy.
Marlo, do you have any comments on this? Have you ever heard of Jack and Jill? What are your thoughts on that?
I had heard of Jack and Jill. I never knew. I was never enrolled in Jack and Jill. I was a military child, so I wasn't enrolled in too many things. We were always picking up and leaving. Only thing that was consistent was Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts for us. But I've heard of it, and I think that's a great sidebar, right? Is to, what do you value and what do you invest in, right? And for some people, everybody, so back to social media, right? Everybody has ops and haters and, people praying for their downfall. Like, you just look at it and everybody just is kind of not everybody, but enough people are just kind of in this weird mindset where they are just, they want to show up and show out in every arena. And I think that we're just living in a moment where you only live once, and show up and show out, all these cliches. We're getting living live examples of these cliches, like people renting pricey Airbnbs so that they could host the pre-party. You rent the helicopter. Are you renting the helicopter? Did you go in the helicopter, or did you just rent it for the pictures, right? Like, it's so many small little questions. I wish I could just sit down and ask somebody that, has sent their child on this sort of a prom experience. Like, whose idea was it, right? Who said helicopter? Like, how did we get to helicopter? Was that part of the dream from the beginning? Have they been sketching this? Like, when I was in high school, I didn't know anybody that was planning for prom, but I knew girls that were planning their weddings, and they were writing stuff down in books and drawing. So were these manifestations that these young people have had since the 5th or 6th grade because they were inspired by movies or whatever? I don't know. I just think, misplaced energy, correct. Fear of missing out, correct. YOLO, every little hashtag. We are in a hashtag world right now. And I think that that's a lot of what we're seeing is that.
Yeah. So listen, if you're just tuning in, I want us to run that clip again of the Tamron Hall guest where the mom spent $16,000. And while that's getting pulled up, I have a little note about the origins of Jack and Jill. In 1938, in the midst of the Great Depression, 20 African-American mothers in Philadelphia came together not to hope or to dream, but to provide the opportunities, experiences, and life lessons that would enable their children and others to live these truths. And that group became Jack and Jill. So again, I was never a part of it, so I don't know everything that it entails, but it sounds like it was trying to give us the foundational pieces to help us start to create that generational wealth. Do we have the Tamron Hall clip available? Here we go.
So I want you to understand you are safe here. This is your money, and you do with what you want to do with your money. That's what I'm going to start there. But I'm going to go to the money because you're posted it. Maricela, I love you. You love this kid. The dress was $1,300, right? The shoes were $4,900. The send-off was $3,900. Your hair was $175. They gave you a great price on the hair. $750 on photos and videos. $4,000 on a car rental. And you got the hotel so everyone could get ready, and that was $1,600. The total was $16,625.
Wow. Okay. Take it away, Erica.
It just hit me as I watched the clip again. There's something that we have now that we did not have in the 90s when I was in that situation. Everybody is social media is running rampant, and people are getting paid for their social media content. So I think a lot of people are using the prom extravaganza as an opportunity for a big payday, for hits, likes, and views, and for things to go viral. So I think that's another thing that we need to look at from that avenue, because to spend $16,000, and not to say her daughter wasn't worth it, because the girl slayed. She looked absolutely gorgeous. My question is what is the return on the $16,000? Because at some point, I remember my mother used to say all the time, she said, you're going to need that money one day. Don't just squander it. Don't just give it away. Don't just buy something out of emotion or do something to feel good for the moment. Because when you squander it, that's it. It doesn't come back. Money doesn't grow on trees unless you're planting. So what's in the fertilizer? So if she spent $16,000, bless her heart, I hope she makes that return off of her likes and views and forwards and virals. But also, let's also keep in mind, if you're going to spend $16,000, please make sure you have $32,000 sitting in the bank still. Because what we're not going to do is use $16,000 and then have $1,600 just left in the bank.
Yes, I love that you brought that up, because some of the comments, it's like one side and the other side. Some are saying, oh no, that's crazy excessive. And others are like, let them spend their money how they want. And I can only speak for myself, but I feel like both of you agree. We aren't saying don't do it big for your child's prom, but we are saying make sure you are also at the same time investing in other areas for your child, because a prom is just that. And there is so much more life to look forward to. And we have to make sure that we are investing our money wisely, because some of these kids, once they graduate, then are they going to go to college? Are they going to take up a trade? Are they going to start a business? But then they don't have any money for that, you know? So looking at the economic impact, over $4 billion annually is spent in the US in the prom industry. $4 billion with a B. And here's where the issue comes in. If you have it, great. Spend it however you want. But there are a lot of lower income families spending all that they have, missing payments on bills in order to have these extravagant proms. And that's where we have an issue, because some surveys say that families earning less than $50,000 a year are spending $700 on average. And that's probably the lower end, if we're being honest, from these videos on social media. And that can be a real financial burden.
An absolute financial burden. And I think that the biggest job that parents have, or myself as a parent, is preparing my child for the real world, right? And I think that if you are, your child sees you, let's put wealthy people aside that got it, right? Let's put them in their own little boat over here. They cool. The Carters, if Blue want to fly a helicopter and have the prom on the helicopter, those people are straight. We're not talking about them. We're talking about regular, everyday folks that get up to go get the bread, right? And I think that not having an honest conversation with your kids about what is and is not financially feasible, especially at a point where they are about to enter into adulthood, is setting them up for failure. They see you getting up, going to work, doing the most, everything, you taking on extra shifts, doing overtime, you working yourself, you just not getting no sleep. It's a whole situation for this one moment in their life. What's beyond that? I think that people need to be having real conversations with their kids about the future and what makes sense for the future, not instant gratification, right? Instant gratification is in the now. You're going to have long-term regrets with instant gratification most times. You need to be looking at what is next and how can this money serve you, right? We're going to make sure you have a great prom experience, whatever that looks like to you, that is reasonable. I paid for my own prom. I had my little job. I felt that was the least that I could do, right? And I'm not saying that the kids need to do what I did, but I'm saying that they need to be preparing themselves for the future and thinking about the future, and not just thinking about this moment, to share this memory on social media from year to year to year. You do only get one prom, but you got your whole life ahead of you. Like you got 30, 40, 50, 65, 80 years from the time you go to that prom. Let's think about what those years look like, and instead of this instant gratification. At least for me and mine, that's how we live. And I can't tell nobody else how to live their life, but prioritizing that kind of money for a prom, no.
If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. Make sure you text the word Queens to 87948 so that you can receive notifications and updates on when we are going live Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time with our dynamic group of hosts. And I want to kick it right back to you, Erica, because I know you mentioned your mom, she rolled out the white carpet, and at the time you were like, oh, okay, she's doing it big for my prom. But in hindsight, you're like, okay, well, she didn't really spend that much. So do you have any suggestions on how parents can give their child a memorable prom experience, but with financial responsibility?
I say meet the child in reasons. We need to start sitting down and having conversations about money. I saw not long ago a father, his son turned 15 or 16. I don't remember. It was a few months ago. And instead of him buying him a car or buying something outlandish, he got him his first piece of real estate. He bought him an apartment building. This young man has income coming in at 16. This child is doing better than I am. And I think if we start doing things like that for me, for being able to take $16,000 and use that as a down payment on an apartment building, regardless of how small or big it is, that is huge, because that is going to set this young man up for wealth. By the time he is graduating high school, he already has income coming in. He already has money coming in. So now that building, that apartment building that his father bought him for his birthday, that apartment building is going to help him pay for college if he decides to go to college. I really think we need to start sitting down, having conversations with our kids and finding out what it is that they want and how to get there in reason. Like, I remember I told my mother, like, oh, I want a helicopter. When I get married, I want to have Parisian lilies, whatever Parisian lilies are. I don't even think that's a thing. But I said it. And, it was just a joke. But, you can daydream and you can dream, but within reason. Because even if I'm sitting on $50 million, do I really want to have a $40 million wedding? No. So, because I don't want to put us in debt going into the marriage. And we need to start looking at our entire life as a marriage, because we're in relationship with every aspect of our life. So no, I don't want to go to the prom and spend $16,000 and only have $1,600 in my purse. This young lady had on a $4,900 pair of shoes. Was that? I mean, bless her mother, but she is 17, 18 years old. I think I would have much rather have given her $4,900 for something that would have lasted her much longer, like buying her investment property, or getting her getting a car or something that she could use to take her into the next phase of life. But I really think it starts with a sit down and talking about what it is that they want within reason, going towards that, but saying, okay, well, look, these shoes that you want cost $4,900. Let's look online and see what we can find that's a match to it or looks close to it. Okay, I understand you want this dress. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Aunt Mary to make this dress, within reason. And maybe we won't have actual diamonds. Maybe we can just get some rhinestones or some glass to put on here. But I think we just really need to start having conversations instead of letting kids just run off within, daydreams and fantasies of what they're seeing on social media.
Yeah, I know Marlo brought up social media as well. And you just mentioned that key word there, social media, celebrities, and influencing is now a job that people use to make their everyday income. And I don't think a lot of people realize that if you truly want to make income, because one of you mentioned about going viral with their prom videos, you have to set all of that up like a business and have everything in play, all the back end things, so that you can actually make money from your viral posts and being an influencer on social media. But it makes me think about, how do we get back to that? Like, how do we come together, especially encouraging the ones that are influencing our youth or influencing the Black community, period? How do we figure out a way to spread awareness on how to invest, how to start a business, how to save for college? Because I think that's a key piece that we're missing, is that we have some Black Americans that have access to those resources and understand how to use them and are changing the narrative for their families. But then we have a whole nother segment of Black America where they don't know, and you can't do what you don't know. So how do we increase the awareness of how to build that generational wealth for our children? Miss Marlo, do you have any ideas on that?
Well, I think it starts within your circle, right? If you know what you know, then I feel like you should share information. I feel like there isn't anything that I know in terms of, like, my job brings me face to face with legislation every day. I'm constantly reading legislation. There is no reason for me to know that they are changing the criminal code in the state of Louisiana, or that they are changing the way that housing goes in the state, and not share that with the people that need that information, right? I know my friends and family aren't watching the legislative session, so I share that information out. I think that that's the first thing, right? People have to be more willing to share information within your cipher, right? You want to share it out, you want to charge a fee, cool. But I think for the people you love and care for, you should be giving them certain games so that they understand. Now, what they do with that knowledge is their business, right? But I think, one, if you are an expert at something, share information with people. That's the first step, because many people don't know, and people that don't know maybe won't ask, right? Because they don't want to feel judged. And there's so many social ills within us that are trauma linked, right? So I think giving and being openly free with information is like the first step. But also, I think realistic, just being realistic, talking to your children understanding where the money comes from, where the money goes, how the money is spent, how the money is invested, how investments are made. I think that is setting up a framework, right? The same way you teach them to wash the dishes, the same way you teach them to keep the room clean and keep the house clean. And these are the reasons that we keep it clean. Talk to them about money in those same ways, so that it isn't overwhelming to them when they become adults. It's just part of the life process. And I think so much of our issues as Black people, whether you're on the high end scale with wealth or whether you're in the lower end socioeconomic sector, is a lack of information and a lack of willingness to share information. I think is a huge problem that we have. That if we're going to overcome these ills, we got to get rid of that. We have to start becoming, because them folks talk to each other. I'm always at corporate. I'm always in the room. They're always sharing information, and nobody's kid went to prom on a horse. Okay, y'all. And that's their choice, right? Maybe they did something else extravagant that I just didn't see, but they're constantly sharing information, constantly exchanging information, constantly talking about broker this and the financial person that, and, oh, you should call my guy, and you should, like, constantly sharing information. And we don't do that to our own detriment as a greater community.
You know what that made me think of? That subconscious trauma that we still have to heal. You know, a lot of times people want to say, oh, get over it. You don't need reparations, blah, blah, blah. But these traumas, especially these generational subconscious that are deep down within our DNA, that is going to take significant amounts of time to be able to heal and process and be on the other half of that. But it makes me think about we can be none or few. Like, there could be one of us. And if the one of us that made it, and I can't share anything with you, because if I share with you, then you can take my spot, because only one of us are allowed to be in this position or to hold this title or to have this thing. And I barely made it here. So I can't share my resources with you, because then you're going to take my spot. And now I can't do what I need to do for my family. So I still feel like we have a lot of that lingering in our subconscious DNA that we have to heal. Now, of course, we're doing better as far as sharing resources, but unfortunately, those positive posts, like I just saw where a girl, she had taken 100 people to an auction, and every single one of them walked away and bought some land to build a business or a community. And it's like, well, why isn't this being blasted all over social media? It's because media is still pushing that narrative of the negative stereotypes of Black people. So we have to find ways to, anytime we see those positive things, to push them out as much as we can, so that we can start to change that narrative and understand, like, it's okay to share what I got with you, because then we can put our resources together and go even further, even faster. I saw you over there, Erica. Did you have some comments?
Yeah, no, I just think that we also need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think we need to know what it is to get out of our community and go visit someplace else, or go travel someplace else, or go experience someplace else. If the only thing that you're doing is sitting in your own backyard in your same zip code, in your same area code, nothing will change. We will remain stagnant. I remember a young lady that I went to high school with. She told me this some years ago. She said where she lived, and I'm not going to say where she lived, there were 4 generations that lived there. 4 generations. And I remember thinking, 4 generations living in that one spot, and nobody ever thought about moving. Nobody ever thought about, I want something different, because everybody was comfortable. And I think we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in different areas, different arenas, and so we can start creating different opportunities, so we can start having different conversations, so that we can start sending our kids off to travel versus, them just spending $16,000 on a prom, where you could send your kid to go live in Australia for 4 months.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have to really find ways to connect and get out and be in community and share these resources, because that post I mentioned earlier, it had just a few likes. Like, I would say in social media world, the likes were low. It was maybe like 200,000 likes versus that was shown had 500 million.
I mean, to see all of those people that had purchased that piece of land, I said, oh my God, these people are building a full-on community. And it had like maybe 1,000 likes, maybe, when something else had like 2 or 3 million likes. And it's like, we really need to start shifting our focus as to what's likable and what's likable.
I would say also, it is relative to what people, it's not sexy. Property is not sexy, right? Those dresses are sexy. Those cars are sexy. The money that you think that they spent on that stuff is sexy, but investing your money is not sexy, and it's math, and it's boring, and it's parentheses, and it's minus and plus, and it's granular, right? It's not really anything that people can really get behind in mass. And when you think about pop culture, and to me, social media is a showing of pop culture, right? It's pushing it all kind of into the center, in your face. And so if people aren't typically liking that sort of content, if they're not typically liking, financial or something that's helpful or something that's feel good, then they're not going to see it. And it's not going to have that high level engagement, because although people have moved away from the fight videos, I remember that used to be, fight videos used to have more likes than anything on social media. We've moved away from that. And now we're kind of in a space where extravagance is what people like, and mess is what people like, right? And somebody saying, hey, I'm gonna take all these people to go and build generational wealth, it's not sexy. Now, I will tell you, if Lil Boosie had done that, then maybe it would have gotten 200 million likes, right? Because now you got a celebrity doing a good thing, and that really gives the good thing value. And I think that we as a society have to kind of look at what we value and what we give that kind of support too, right? We gotta, because I'm in the media, I watch it, I put out really good content and really informative content, and I watch people prefer to read the car chase that takes 26 seconds, right? So I see it in my real life, and I see it just in the way that I use social media. And I just think that people, we have to shift our minds as people, and we have to be okay with things not being sexy. And sometimes boring is good, right? Boring gets you to save your money and buy a really nice house and travel and live the life that you want to live. So I think that we just have to maybe celebrate and play up boring a little bit more than the sexy.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize all of the boring stuff that goes on behind the glitz and glams. So, Miss Erica Lewis, let's get into our final thoughts. So, what advice would you give to parents for this prom season with their children and their financial responsibility? What final thoughts do you have on this whole topic?
I think with parents, I think, a lot of them, I mean, it's the end of May, we're going into June. So I think for a lot of them, the damage is kind of done already. I just think we need to just really start sitting down and think about the same energy that we put into planning a prom which is more short-lived than a wedding day. I think the same energy and the same detail that we put into planning that prom and the extravagancy of it all, I think we can do that with planning out things to do, other things to do with our money, and investing for our kids, for your kids' future. Getting them the opportunity to travel, getting them a passport. I saw a comment earlier where someone said get a passport. In my book, I talked about that. There's only about 56% Americans that have a passport. People do not have their passports. Get your passport and travel. Get that experience in. But again, I think sitting down and having these conversations, and again, redirecting that energy and saying, this is what I've wasted energy on planning for, but this is what I'm going to invest my energy and money into plan for the future.
And Ms. Marlowe, what are your final thoughts around this topic of extravagant proms?
I think, again, I'll close it the way I started, to each his own, right? If that's what you want to do, if that's what's going to make you happy, live your moment. But I think that, like Erica said, talking about investing, talking about traveling, opening your children up to the great big world so that they aren't afraid when they go out and they have to work with different types of people and they have to meet different types of people, engage with different people to secure their goals and dreams in life. I think we have to, look past this temporary satisfaction moment and really think about what is life going to be beyond the prom, right? Your whole life is not your prom. And to the commenter that says she rented her daughter's me too. And I was to the belle of the ball. I was very cute in my rented dress, and it went back on Monday, and it didn't cost my mother or myself that much money. So good job, Mom.
And where can everybody find you, Miss Marlowe?
You find me on Instagram. I am Olram Marlowe. That's my first name backwards, Olram, and then Marlowe. And then I'm all around the internet because I am a journalist and I write about politics and Black people's issues and community events.
And Miss Erica, where can everybody find you on these internet streets?
You can find me on faithandtransition.com, or you can find me on Instagram at _Miss.Erica Renee _ or on the lovely TikTok at Miss Erica Renee.
Thank you. Thank you. And my name is Lindsay Vertner. You can find me at liveafirstclasslife.com. And my final thoughts on this is I'm going to kick it back to therapy. Like, we really have to make sure that we are doing the healing, the things on the surface level and at the subconscious level, so that we don't allow things like this to take us away from our financial resources and truly really get back to community. Remember, they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to do just about anything with success. And if we would just come together as a community, we can start to pool our resources and share our resources and make sure that if you're spending $16,000 on your child's prom, you are also spending twice, quadruple more on their future and their financial future, and really truly building that generational wealth. So we got to get back to community, guys. With that said, make sure you are tuning in every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern for a new episode of Fly Nubian Queen with our mix of dynamic hosts we have here. And text Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you can receive notifications on when we go live. Okay, so this has been another episode of Fly Nubian Money. Make sure you are tuning in, as we are here to help you master your mindset and maximize your money. And we can't wait to see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm Laura Lalaki, your host for today. And today we're addressing some common dilemmas and solutions faced by many who are looking to be homeowners. In today's market, a lot of people think they can't do this, but guess what? Yes, you can. So I am joined by some pretty powerful co-queens today, and we're going to help you kind of get your wheels moving and get excited about this and stop listening to the myths that are out there. Today, I'm joined by Madonna Brown, who is a licensed insurance specialist, Athena Gardner, our CPA and women's wealth coach, Minister Connie Spearman, who is an entrepreneur and a real estate investor, and myself, Laura Lalaki, and I am an international real estate agent. Ladies, this is going to be a very great conversation, but I want to throw out some really important stats, especially when it comes to our community and especially women. So, according to NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, single women are really growing in the market for buying their own homes. They're seeing that they don't have to be married to own their own home. So single women in 2023 accounted for 19% of all home buyers, while single men was only 10%. So let's break it down a little bit more. Black women have shown a significant growth in home ownership. And as of 2023, Black women accounted for 35.4% of Black homeowners. This is really important for us to address because most of the time when people think they're a woman, they may fall into this thing of you have to be married. Two, they may think, I can't buy this by myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And they just let things get in their head. So I'm actually going to start with Minister Connie because she's a real estate investor and she owns a lot of homes. So Minister Connie, what got you interested in home ownership and how did you get started?
I got started by my deceased husband. We met with him by selling his properties. So that's how we met. And he told me I wanted to find a home. And he said, don't buy a home, buy an investment property where you can live on one side and the other side will pay you rent. So it was income and you could live for free. And that's where I started. I bought my first home 26 years ago and I bought it as a FHA. So I bought an FHA, which you don't have to put nothing down but 3%. And the other thing was I did not have to have a lot of money and my credit score didn't have to be in the 700. I think it was like 600. So it was a good beginning for me, was a FHA loan.
So it sounds like you got bit by the real estate bug. I mean, because you don't just own your home, you own many more. Right. So when you first started, can you tell me maybe one of your major fears that you thought that you just had to like get out of your head to overcome that and go ahead and bite that bullet?
My two friends owned their homes and they were single women. So it was easy for me to see them, to model them. And then I was like, I don't think it's going to be that hard. I asked them many questions and the process that they went through was pretty easy. So I was ready. Actually, I lived in a vacant home. I was homeless at one time. I moved into a vacant home and remodeled it and made it beautiful. So I was already like a homeowner. It was my son's grandparents' home. They were both deceased. It was just sitting there, just decaying. And so that was my first property. I did not purchase it. I lived there, but I remodeled it and I ended up selling that. And then it's just been one thing after another. But my first home was a FHA loan. So, and it was a duplex. So I lived on one side and I rented out the other side.
Smart. And I advise people of that all the time. You got to leverage that property. Yes. But you're not the only homeowner before. And I'm going to ask you, Madonna, you also have owned and you've actually sold real estate as well. So what are some of the things that you have helped, especially women, overcome in seeing that home ownership is available to them and not an impossibility?
Well, I guess let me straighten out. I don't own home. I own a couple pieces of land in California at this point. So when I sold, I sold and lived in Massachusetts and right here in New York. The first thing you have to do, when we're specifically talking about women, is typically when they come in, they know that, hey, I'm all set, but they're still scared. So what I used to just do is say, what is it? You're here, you've qualified, you can do this. So it's really just sort of pumping the person up to say, you've already gotten halfway where you want to go. Let's go. And again, assuring them that you can afford this. Sometimes at that point, I would run the numbers again to let them know, yes, you can afford this, but just sort of talking them down and saying, listen, you have this pre-approval in your hand. You're good. So that's what it is.
That's right. I agree. And we are going to touch upon some of the process of doing that. But I want to also go over a couple of the major challenges that women actually have when purchasing a home, or anyone. It could be families as well, but we like to talk to our queens out here. The number one issue of challenges with women is economic disparities. Number two is credit and lending. Number three is affordability and housing costs. Number four, systemic racism and bias. We always have to talk about that, especially in our communities, because it is still alive and thriving. And five, lack to access of resources and information. So those are some major challenges that people face when they're ready to purchase a home. And one of the things that we talked about is like money. Where are they going to come up with this? So Athena, you are our CPA, and especially our women's wealth person. So I want to ask you, what do you see?
Tell you what's available. I'm sorry, this went off.
What do you see in your business? Because I know a lot of the times I advise people to speak to their CPAs. How can they leverage their savings or their 401k or something that they have been saving for toward a home? What is your best advice for them to do that?
Well, when it comes to affordability of a home, and to anybody, man or woman, who is watching right now, if this is something that you really want for yourself, you can have it. That is the first thing I want to say out there, because I know the media, all the messaging we're getting right now, there's a lot of fear about if people are going to be able to afford homes and if they're going to be perpetual renters. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I like to do what's called, like, on the personal finance side of things, a financial assessment. So that will be looking over all your income, your debts, and everything to really come up with what you can reasonably afford at this point in time and what makes sense. Typically, or ideally, you want to have at least 20% down, but sometimes that won't be available or accessible to everyone. You have to do 3.5% with the FHA loan, whatever that means are. The other key barrier I see with people is the down payment, being able to come up money for a down payment, closing costs, things of that nature. And like you said, Lala, there's many different ways to come up with a down payment. Of course, an aggressive savings, or leveraging some of your investments, or borrowing from your 401k is another option as well. So there's many different ways you can skin that cat. You can also get gifts from family members. So if your parents or grandma or anyone, they can gift you money towards the down payment of that home. Another thing that's been coming up often too is, especially for people who are self-employed or do not have W-2 income, but they have income from their business, a lot of mortgage loan officers request income verification letters from CPAs to provide validity around the financial statements. So for you business owners, right, if you don't have a CPA who is doing your business taxes and your books for you, well, what then have to happen is that you will have to find a CPA, kind of like me, who will then, you will have to pay us to review, because we can't just say, oh, here's this letter. We have to review all of those financials to make sure, so our license don't get snatched out here, honey, to make sure that your numbers are valid, so we can produce this letter for you so that the mortgage loan officer can grant you some loans.
And you mentioned something very important, since you are a CPA. Taxes are definitely a part of your whole picture of buying a house. So let's we've jumped in a little bit. We're giving people a little bit of a taste on what that looks like, home ownership. But there are 4 parts to home ownership that everyone needs to understand, and it's called PITI. That's your principal, insurance, taxes, and interest. So you have 4 different parts to your home ownership. So Athena, you addressed the taxes. So I do want to ask you one more question, because I want to bounce this right off of Madonna when we're finished with your answer. What is the most common thing, or a few of the common things, that people can write off on their taxes for home ownership? Because what I want people to understand is not you're always putting money out and not getting in. But before we do that, see, that's a nice little teaser, y'all. Y'all got a nice little teaser. Before we do that, I want to make sure that you understand you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're actually talking about home ownership, how to possibly buy your first time home. But if you love what we're putting down, y'all, you need to make sure that you follow, share, comment, because generational wealth is real, and this is one way to get it. You also can make sure that you find out when we go live and get some goodies every once in a while. If you text Queens, QUEENS, to 87948, and you'll receive notice when we go live, and you'll see all the topics, and you could watch the replays. But you definitely want to make sure that you subscribe to us. So Athena, what are some things that people can leverage with their taxes if they own a home?
Okay, so the beauty of owning a home, because I know a lot of people think renting is the best. I just pay my one little payment. I don't have to worry about maintenance. I don't have to do all these things, right? The beauty with owning a home is that you do get certain tax deductions that reduce your taxable income. And that depending on, tax law is very nuanced. So it's going to be unique to the individual based on your income and all those other things. But what is available is mortgage interest deduction, the ability to deduct the interest paid on your mortgage up to a certain limit. I think as of 2017, it's 375,000 individual and 750 for married. So the government is encouraging us to get married, y'all, because you get higher deductions when you are.
But you still get some of that back, which is good.
Exactly. Property tax deduction, you can deduct up to 10,000, 5,000 if you're, single, for property taxes, along with state and local taxes. There are also credits. Now, on a federal level, we don't have first-time homebuyer credit, but some states and local governments and municipalities will still have those. And even some areas, I remember when I was living in Atlanta at the time, there are programs that will give you money for down payments, or even, what's it called? The one where it's Hometown Heroes, like it gives down payment assistance to people who are like in the medical professions and things like that. Yes. So keep a lookout on those kind of programs that can help you with getting that down payment. Home office deduction. So if you buy a home and you work from home and work out of your business, operate from there, you can deduct the use of your home as well, the square footage of your office based on the square footage of your office and the home, and also any energy efficiency tax credits. Now, a great wealth building strategy, and I'm sure you ladies will discuss this as the realty experts here, is should your property increase in value and have appreciation in value, and you decide to sell it further down the line, you can waive that some of the capital gains tax. So if you're single, you can waive up to $250,000 of that appreciation, or if you're married, up to $500,000. So, and then on the real estate investing side, you can take depreciation, you can really reduce your taxes that way as well. So the beauty of actually owning a home versus renting is that you do have access to these tax deductions, reducing your income, and also a way to build wealth as well.
So Madonna, we mentioned 4 parts of buying a home, and one of them is insurance, and you are an insurance specialist. Can you please explain to us the importance of insurance on your home and having the right type of coverage for your home?
Of course. So, you can't get a home unless, well, you buy your home, but the first thing they're going to insist is that you have mortgage insurance. So, where I would come in, because I always tell people mortgage insurance protects the bank, whereas mortgage protection protects you. So, I would say mortgage protection. I would also say a term living benefits, which is if you ever have a chronic, critical, terminal illness, critical injury, down the road, Alzheimer's. But if ever anything happens to you and you cannot pay that mortgage for whatever reason, why lose your home? Why lose your home? You take advantage of advancing your death benefit. If it's a term with living benefits, you advance it. Your death benefit is advanced tax free. You do not have to pay it back. They do not tell you what to do with that money. And again, you have to have a critical or chronic injury for that, and meaning you can't bring in an income. They advance that money to you. You pay your life. You pay your bills. You feed your family. You feed yourself. So mortgage protection, which again has nothing to do with health, and more term with living benefits, which has everything to do with health. Again, if anything should happen to you health-wise, is confirmed by the medical professional who is dealing with you to the insurance company. That check comes out to you up to 90% of your death benefit. So those are the two that I really, really highly suggest that people have, because again, that mortgage insurance only protects the bank.
Wow, that's critical to know the difference. If you're just joining us, you're watching Fly Nubian Money, and you'll find us here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, we're talking about home ownership, and I am joined by my co-queens today, Madonna, Athena, Minister Connie, and myself, Laura Key. But if you don't want to miss us, you want to make sure that you text the word Queens, Queens, because we got lots of queens here, to 87948. Mr. Connie, you got a lot of properties. Yes, so I wanted to ask you, how is it that you help to manage that many properties? And do you rent all of them out? And how have you leveraged, this is kind of a two-part question, the ones that you have, because we know you leveraged your duplex. How did you leverage into the next property?
Well, that's so funny that you asked that. Excuse me. I sold off all of my properties. I got tired of renting. There's a lot of problems with renting. So I decided to sell them all off. And right now I'm flipping homes. I buy a home and I flip them. In the last 90 days, I have sold 3 homes that I have flipped. So I just wanted to change my business model on my investment around a little bit. So I enjoy it. I go in, I renovate them, and I sell them. And I'm making more money than off renting. So that's what I like to do right now. I might grow out of that, but after 26 years of renting properties, I had duplexes, fourplexes, had a personal care home. So, after a while, all the problems, you get tired. So I decided I wanted to get into just flipping homes, making money, and just investing that money.
But Connie, you took that first step.
Could you expound on the issues that you had with renting? Because I'm sure there's other people who are looking into investing in real estate. Can you expound on the potential issues they may face if they choose to rent?
Some of the problems that I had was people not paying the rent. That's a major problem. There was problems of just not them taking care of the property. You go in, you make everything nice and new, and it's beautiful. And within a couple years, it needs to be done again. So that is money that you're constantly putting out. And after a while, I did not see the return on my investment because you had to replace things. If the sink stops up, they want to call you because they don't have the money to put the money out. I remember one time one of my renters had their grandkids over and they put something down in the drain. And I'm talking about so far down the drain, they had to take the whole top apart to get it out. That costs money. They didn't have the money for it. So that came out of my pocket. But I told them because that was something that their grandchildren did to cause the problem with the property that they had to pay me back. So I charged them payments in little small increments, but they did pay me back. There's a lot of problems on that. Not taking care of it, just trashing your place. After a while, you're just like, well, I could do something else in the investment. Now, all people's not bad. My sister and I had a pastor that lived in one of my duplexes, never no problems. Anything that was under $100, they took care of. Anything over $100, I took care of. So it kind of balance out. And some people really like their places and really take care of it. And most people, they don't care. It's a rental.
Mindset. There is a huge mindset between renting and owning. And when you own your own property, you tend to take more care of it. So you're like confirming that.
Yes.
So ladies, this is really great information. And I think that a lot of people, one of the things we talked about is that is a challenge for people is lack of resources and information about buying a home. And this is where I absolutely love what I do. I kid you not. I love being able to teach people how to buy a home. So I have been teaching home ownership since 2006. And so I teach them from day one what you're going to do, how to you determine your budget before you even think that you're ready to buy, how to consider where you want to buy. And my first thing that I always like to tell people is to get educated. Yes. There are so many programs out there right now that are free. I help teach at a first-time home nonprofit, and they get to come to my class. It's an 8-hour class. We go through everything. We have a lender come in and go through everything. We talk about home inspection. We talk about insurance. We talk about everything. And at the end of that class, they get a certificate. And that certificate can go to their down payment because they have shown how they've learned to become a homeowner. So the lack of resources frustrates me when it's so easy for you to even just get online and just Google first-time home ownership classes. You can take them in person or you can take them online very easily. Heck, I've created my own for people so that if they don't have time for that, I've got it for them. But it sounds like to me, all of us here know the importance of education when it comes to buying homes. So before we move on, I want to make sure that you know who you're watching. You are watching Fly Nubian Money, and you can find us here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We discuss important information to help you maximize your money and master your mindset. And today I'm here with my co-queens, Madonna, Athena, and Minister Connie. And we are talking about home ownership. And it is possible. There's so much news out here saying that you cannot own and you have too many challenges to face. When I know all four of us here know that it is possible for you. All you have to do is get out of your head and start your education on what you want to do and how to do it. So, Minister Connie, I'm going to address you one more time.
Okay, I have something to say on that too.
Sure.
The last home that we sold in April, we did seller's assist. So a lot of people's asking for seller's assist. I'm like, okay. So we did do seller's assist, and it was 6% that we did on that.
And everything is absolutely negotiable. And you did 6% on it. That's a great rate to do that. Mm-hmm. But I want to also touch back on your duplex. when you purchased your duplex, your very first property, did you live in one side and rent to someone you didn't know, or did you rent to someone in the community and became a landlord?
No, the person that, when I bought the property, she was already there 15 years.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So
she was
you
a
bought it
long-time
that way.
renter. Yes. So when I moved there, I was like the new person in the duplex. So I lived on one side and she lived on the other, and she was there for 15 years, and she was a good renter.
Wow. Wow. And well, she'd been there for 15 years. A lot of people in those situations, so people shouldn't be afraid of that.
Right.
Is if somebody has been there a long time, they don't tend to want to move at all.
No.
So you had a good tenant.
A very good tenant.
Athena, from your perspective, we've talked about how people can leverage their money for down payments. But what if someone is coming to you? Do you ever consult with people on how they can save and what they can put their money best toward to get more money to leverage for down payment on their homes?
Yes. What I will say is this: money and being good with money, you do not need to have a fancy finance and accounting degree like I do. A lot of people, even in our industry, have their own hangups around money. Money is more so a mindset thing and a habit thing, right? It's mostly a mindset thing and a habit thing. So even what I first do when I have on the personal finance side of things, when I have clients, is that I make them sign up for Monarch Money, which is a great budgeting and wealth management app. And we do a preliminary budget. So we review their past few bank statements to get a real understanding of what their spending is like, what categories are they spending. And reviewing that is so important because we often overestimate what things we're spending on, one. Two, it's also a reflection of what you value. If someone values fitness, I'm going to see gym expenses and nutritionists and, Whole Foods on their bank statements. So what I do is we do that. And then I don't create a super, super strict budget because that's what some people do. They're like, oh, I'm not going to spend anything. And then you're going to be frustrated and you're going to hate it. And then you're just not going to want to do it at all, which is a big mistake most people make. Then I try to get them to make financial goals based off of what is really important to them and have some kind of emotional attachment. Your emotions are going to be very important as far as you gaining the discipline to actually make these changes. So we discuss that. So then I discuss, okay, what is the most important things to you? Let's keep those in there. And then find the areas that we can save and then put that towards towards your, down payment. So if you make like $70,000 a year, you can give yourself an immediate boost, an immediate personal raise by just cutting down 10% off your budget. That's $7,000. When you have that mindset around it, and certain people struggle with certain things. I'll even share my personal things. The two things that I really have to like rein in is food.
Yeah. I can eat out a lot.
Yeah. I had to like my Uber Eats. I was like, what? Like, what? But you know what I did? There's this company called like Ideal Nutrition that is like really they pre-cook things, and because I'm a busy working woman, I wish I was under the shade eating grapes, but that's not reality right now. I go and I pick that up, and that's significantly, it's healthy, it's portioned, and it takes out the cooking guesswork, and I'm spending less. Like Uber Eats is like $30, $40 each order. And then I love shopping. I'm like a little glamour puss, like I'm a little glam girl, make them all that stuff. And I was like, girl, you could be like putting this in like an index fund right now and be banking. So I had to really like cut that in half so I can have. But basically, I do to myself what I do for my clients, which is keep some of the things you love. Let's find some solutions to some of the things. And then let's put this towards what's going to make you happy.
That's really important because, I always tell people the first thing you want to check is your Starbucks money. How much are you spending at Starbucks? Because that might be your down payment. Because it's very true. It's
So
very true. So Madonna, once you have your home, I like to let people think ahead. Once they get so focused on purchasing the home and yes, getting everything that they need to. But I also know that it's also very important for people to reevaluate their insurance as their values go up. Can you please explain to me and maybe give a time frame when people should reevaluate their insurance to make sure that they're being covered properly?
If there have been no significant changes in your life, obviously that house is a time to reevaluate. But if there's been no significant changes, definitely yearly. But if ever you have a baby, if ever you lose a child, if ever you divorce, if ever you adopt, if ever there's any kind of some kind of influx of money coming in, some kind of flow of money going out. So if ever there are any kind of big changes of in or out in your life, obviously divorce or whatever, every time you have to do this. I did a series a couple weeks ago on divorcing, on women divorcing. And so I talked about the first thing you always have to do is who's on your beneficiary list if you have that spouse on there. So again, if everything is steady Eddie, yearly. But the second birth, death, divorce, large influx of money, exflux of money, lose a job, get a new job with a higher income, those are times when you must review because things have changed and you can possibly help save yourself taxes by making those adjustments. So yearly, unless things have changed, and then immediately.
That's really great information because I know that there have been people, I've heard some nightmare stories about people who did not do that. And if something should happen to their home, they didn't have enough money to rebuild or to recoup their information. One of the things that we talked about when we first started today, and I highly suggest if you've missed anything that you please go back and rewatch this. Matter of fact, I want to make sure that you know who you're listening to because you have some great information here for you to get started on, even if you're just thinking of home ownership, how you can leverage this towards your generational wealth. You are watching Fly Nubian Money, and we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. We're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. I always want to say Pacific because I'm all over the place, Eastern Standard Time. So you can calculate wherever you are. I am joined by some awesome queens today, Madonna, Athena, Minister Connie, and myself. We are talking about home ownership, and you never want to miss any of our episodes. We talk about some really key information. So you want to make sure you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you'll receive notice when we go live and any other things that we have for you. Sometimes you get special little gifts when you text that. So make sure that you like and subscribe and text that number. So one of the things that we talked about when we first came on is some major challenges for women purchasing a home or for anyone buying a home, but especially in our communities. And one of the things is affordability and housing costs. And the first thing people think of is usually single family homes. And there is a difference between single family and multifamily. A multifamily can be purchased up to 4 units under an FHA loan, which is your first time, usually first time home buyers do an FHA loan because the down payment is 3.5%. But you can buy up to 4 units with that. So you want to talk about affordability. Well, you're living in one, but you can rent out the other 3. And that also can leverage the loan that you're taking out because they'll take into account how much rent you are getting in. So in essence, you could be living pretty much zero with your tenants paying the mortgage on that property. That is an important thing to understand, that when you're purchasing a home, it doesn't mean you're just buying a single family home. You can buy a single family, a triplex, a duplex. And also, guys, if you're thinking, I can't deal with the house, I can't deal with the grass and you could buy condos and townhomes. There is a wealth of opportunity in real estate that can fit your needs. So don't think that you're just thinking inside the box. Start thinking outside the box, because just as Minister Connie purchased her first property, which is a duplex, that's too. And you heard her say she purchased with an FHA. So, Minister Connie, when you purchased with that FHA, how long did you own that property? Do you still own that property? And how long did you hold it if you sold it?
I held that property for probably 10 years. I lived in it 4 years. Got married to the guy that sold me the property, and we bought another home. But I also had bought a fourplex, my next property, and that had I put my business in there. So I had my businesses on the first floor of each side, and then I rented out the apartments on each other side. So I was getting in 4 incomes off of the fourplex. So it was great. And how I bought that, the owner, they had a leaky roof. The roof was leaking, and there was no way that a bank was going to touch that. There was some other things. So they owned it. It was generational passed down. So that family had owned that building for like 3 generations. So when I asked them, I said, well, I can't get a bank loan. My inspector, I always try to get the properties inspected, especially if it's a large property like that, a fourplex. He said, you got leverage. Go in and tell them that the bank is not going to touch it to finance this for you. And that's what they did. So I put down a larger down payment, maybe about $15,000, and I made monthly payments to them. Now, once I was able to get the roof repaired, I was able to go to the bank and ask them for a mortgage on that property. So
okay, so you leveraged that.
I leveraged that.
So are you guys picking up what we put down? Do you see how we are leveraging a property to get into another property? And I want to bust that myth that just because you have a dream in your head of maybe a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe 5-bedroom, 3-bath, depending on where you live, because in LA, that's tough. You can leverage something to get to that dream. So maybe you can't afford that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house yet, but you can afford a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo for a little while and make that money work for you, because you're no longer paying a landlord where that money goes out the window. You're paying yourself and leveraging that money to leverage into your 3-bedroom, 2 home. So I want to take this opportunity to also tell you that there are so many programs out here. Not only are there programs, there are different types of loans. So let's take a pause and really think about what you can put into your brain to help you get to that first step. First, you can check your local resources for local down payment assistance programs. In Los Angeles, there is many programs in different cities. So one thing you can think about is maybe you live in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And you type in Atlanta, Georgia down payment programs. Well, they may have one, but what about your local subsidy, like your suburban? Some of the suburban areas have their own programs where you can buy in that area. So you can get really niche with these programs. Some of my absolute favorite ones that we do in Los Angeles is the government assisted one. So if you take the FHA classes, they'll help launch you into the programs. They'll help you pay that. There is a program called NACA, and that is usually nationwide. You want to look into that, but you have to follow their guidelines, which are very strict, and it does take a long time to kind of get through the program. But what does it matter how long you have to do to get to your goal? If it means it's going to take you a year or two to do it, I say do it anyway. Put your foot out there and start. And there's also many other ways that you can get around this by making sure that you speak to your local lenders as well. And there are different programs within loans. So FHA loans, conventional loans. You can do USDA. Most people think agricultural when they think USDA loans, but that's not necessarily the truth. You don't have to buy cows and chickens to go and get a USDA loan. There are loans for veterans that have no down payment at all, and they can use their benefits for that, and so many other things. So as you can see, this is a really big topic. We are touching on a lot of great information. You are currently watching the Fly Nubian Money channel, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. We are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you don't want to miss anything that we have, first we say you need to like, subscribe, and share, and comment, because we may have some answers for the questions that you have today. But to make sure that you never miss an episode, you want to make sure that you text Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you'll get notice on when we live, and you also can always go back and watch the replay. So I don't want to take over the whole conversation, because I know that I deal with this every single day. But let's talk a little bit about money and credit. Now, Athena, you have already instructed us on how we can put some things aside for money. One thing I do want to talk to you about is 401k. Can 401k be used toward a home?
Yes, so a 401k can be used towards a home because there are certain exemptions that will allow you without penalty to pull money from your 401k, and first-time home ownership falls under one of those exemptions. Now, typically, we don't advise to take money out of your 401k because that is going to impact the money that you can have in the future. However, if it is for something like a home, and a home is going to be an investment for you, you're going to have appreciation that you gain from that home anyway, then under those circumstances, then yes, you can take out money from your 401k to afford a home. Another thing I want to keep people to keep in mind, because sometimes a big issue that we have in this country is being house poor, is trying to flex, is trying to keep up with the Joneses. Me as a single woman, I was like, actually, this is supposed to be my starter home. I was like, oh, I'm going to be here for 2-3 years and I'm going to get married, la, la, la. That did not happen. However, I am so glad I bought a home versus to speak to the single woman thing that we were talking about earlier. I had friends who didn't, because they were waiting on some guy, or they were waiting for them to get married. And then I live in Florida, so the prices just, went way, way up, especially post-pandemic. So I just want to say that you can find something that you can afford on your own by yourself. For people who are afraid, I find that, especially when it comes to women, since I'm a women's wealth coach, we are afraid to do it on our own. And we have also been instructed to or have these visions of doing it with someone else. But I think a lot of women are waking up to the fact that if you're waiting on a man to do certain things, you might be a skeleton. So I think that's why the statistics are showing that single women are buying at twice the rate of single men, because women value security. And I think we're waking up to realize we can't really wait. However, when it comes to affordability of a home and credit and things of that nature, think of 20-30-3 rule. So ideally 20%, but I know that's kind of rough for people to do. But make sure that the home is less than 30% of your gross income, and the cost is less than 3% of what you take home every monthly, that payment, because that is going to keep you from feeling the stress and burden of trying to keep up with those payments. And financial stress definitely affects us more into our male counterparts just because of our wiring and our hormones and stress and cortisol. So I want to also throw that out there.
Unmute myself. I got all excited about everything that you said. I started talking.
Also, I wanted to show something. Hold on 1 second. We're talking about credit.
Yes.
So for those of you who have might need to get a little hookup on the credit, I recommend this book by Carolyn Warren, How to Repair Your Credit Like the Pros. It goes through all kinds of credit scenarios, and she also gives sample letters for you to send to help repair some of your credit. I think it's around $13-15 on Amazon. Get this book.
Which really segues into this next segment that we are going to address. A lot of people are very curious about interest rates as well as credit. And I do want to make sure that we address that before we end for the day. Credit should never, ever hold you back. This is what I always tell my people. Most of the people come to me are afraid to even look at their credit. And this is my advice to you. Don't let that scare you. For one, I call that your starting point. You may not be where you want to be, but until we know where your starting point is, we can't get to the goal line. I do know there are a lot of lenders out there that will allow you to purchase with a 500 credit score. Do I advise that? I do not. And it's okay if it's all right for your financial wheelhouse, but you're going to be paying extra for so many other things when your credit score is lower. So I completely advise you to have at least a 620 so that you can have a better opportunity for interest rates, because the lower you are on your credit, the higher your interest rate is, because now you're being considered a high risk loan. So a good number to go after is 620. And anything higher than that is definitely a bonus. But right now we know that interest rates are kind of crazy. Like right now, as of this morning when I checked, because they fluctuate all day. So don't just ask anybody what is the current interest rate, because that can change like that. But the current interest rates for home ownership right now just fell below to 7 again. They were up to 8. But you have to remember that we are still working within a great construct of interest rates when many years ago our parents were paying 20, 21, even 18. We are still in the single digits. And home ownership also pays you back. And there are ways to get around this interest rate issue. 1, we want to make sure you have a better credit score. 2, talk to your lender about maybe refinancing 6 months down the road, because now you can leverage your good payments toward your house, toward refinancing and lowering your rates when rates get low. A good lender will do that for you. So don't let the myth of interest rates and credit scores stop you from starting the process. Remember what I said, starting line, you get to the goal. So Minister Connie, once again, I'm going to touch on you because you started with a low amount. You paid how much for your first property?
The interest rate, I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. That's been 26 years ago. So
right?
I really can't remember what it was. But I'm thinking about 8% at that time. But now when I purchase investment properties, I use my own money. I use my retirement, which is my investment retirement. So I use my retirement funds for my investments because you can't go to a bank. I always use other people's money. So when I use my own, I pay myself an interest rate on that money also. So when I pull it out, I have a Roth IRA that you can use it however you want to. So that's how I buy my properties. And I have had investors that gave me money through a loan, and you pay them a origination fee, and you pay them monthly a fee on that. And most of them are charging about 10% right now. So that right there is that's about average now, because it's usually the prime rate plus 2 or 3% for investors to lend you money. But when you're waiting to sell a house, which the market has been very good lately, but when you're waiting to sell a house, my first flip didn't go very well. We had the house for 7 months because we went through 3 contractors. It was awful. So we really did not make any money off of my first flip. So I kind of backed away from it. The only ones that made money, and then I don't know how they talked us into Seller's Assist. We did that. So I think I walked away with $500. That was a bad investment.
But you learned some.
I learned a whole lot. Yes, I have.
You have to have the learning process, right?
Yes, yes.
Do you remember how much you paid for your first property?
The first flip I did, we paid $35,000 for it. It was a foreclosure. I love buying foreclosures.
See? I'm telling you, we're all launching into some really good information.
Right.
Madonna, I am going to have another question for you, but then I'm also going to explain some of the programs that are out here on how you can find affordable houses. But before we do that, I'm going to put you on that little cliffhanger and tell you who you're talking to today. You are on Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Laura Lalaki. I am joined by some wonderful queens who is spitting some serious knowledge for you, Madonna, Athena, Minister Connie, and we are all here helping you to know that it is possible for you to be a homeowner. All you got to do is put your mind to it and step your foot out there and get some education, and that is what we are actually doing. You can find some really great topics with us every day, Monday through Friday on Fly Nubian Money. And we're here every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. You do not want to miss anything that we talk about, because it's definitely going to help you get to the next level with your money. And we have some key information for you as well. So you want to make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948, so that you'll be notified when we go live. And you also sometimes get some goodies when you text that, and it'll help you definitely grow your money. So I have a really tough question for you, Madonna, because this is some of the things that I am seeing out here, and I want people to understand. We are talking about real estate in general, but in places like Florida, New York, Los Angeles, California, we have Texas. There are a lot of Mother Nature issues, and especially dealing with floods and hurricanes and things of that nature. And I'm seeing that some people are struggling in those states. What are some key questions in those areas, if you have any general guidance for that people can ask for in those high-risk states?
Well, in some states like Florida, there are some parts, if not the whole state, and if someone is in Florida on the panel, you can let me know, but you can't even get insurance anymore on properties. So you're going to have to decide what you can or cannot manage. In California, earthquake state, do you have earthquake insurance? If you don't have earthquake insurance, how are you going to possibly repair that property. Now there are, it's totally slipped my mind what they're called, but there are, they're not called reinforcers, but they are, you have companies that will help solidify that house. They go up underground and they, they really try to strengthen the property. So you really have to think about what you can afford to possibly lose. What can you do to try to get that property back into livable condition should a natural disaster happen, and know where you're buying and what is covered and what is not? Because even in California, there's some places due to floods, or not just California, but in some states due to floods in certain areas. And I'm sorry, one more thing you need to know. Sometimes there are freak floods in areas. You need to ask if that area has ever flooded, because you may be buying something and you're happy as a lark, but then 3 months down the road, here comes a flash flood. So you have to be on your P's and Q's. You have, Athena, I see that you, you have to be on your P's and Q's. So you have to know where you're buying and what the risks are. And you have to ask, because sometimes people will leave out vital information.
Exactly. Now, I promised you that I would tell you about some special programs that may help you, not just down payment assistance, but to really look at what you can afford and possibly, conquer the affordability. Number one, there is a program called the Good Neighbor Next Door program. I love this program. It is for firefighters, teachers, EMTs, and police officers. If you are in one of those professions, the government sets aside a certain percentage of homes. You may not always see them. Sometimes they're rare, especially in big cities. But when one comes up, once you're pre-approved for a loan, which we didn't talk about today, but stay tuned because you want to make sure you follow us. I'm sure we'll touch on that on a future show. That if you're pre-approved and that house is set for $200,000, you can put in a bid for that. And it's a lottery system. They pull a name out from somebody who's qualified, and you get that home for whatever they advertise it for. But here's the kicker. You stay in it for 3 years and you get it for 50% off. So if you're in one of those professions and you are a first-time home buyer, there is a program for you, just for you. Now, there are limitations to that, but I always tell people about that because people don't know. Number two, there's also a lot of HUD homes available. HUD homes are foreclosures that are taken back from homeownership, from using FHA loans, okay? Because FHA loans are government-backed loans, they take them back and then they sell them back to first-time homeownership. They also allow investors, but not till after they went through the process of home ownership first. Okay, so that's another great resource to look at. Foreclosures are also a good deal. However, I will say not as much as they used to be, because banks are pretty much really trying to get as much as they can, but you still can get a good deal on those as well. And they're called REO, real estate owned, bank owned homes. So look for that keyword as well. There are tax lien homes in many states where you can buy a home just for the amount of money that someone couldn't pay on their taxes. That's another nuance that you can learn about. But these are all places where you can start your dream of home ownership. Can you tell we're all passionate about that? And the reason we're passionate about that is because this sets you up for generational wealth. Not only for you, but your children, your grandparents, and your parents. Maybe they didn't have a home, but now you can help them realize the dream as well. This is such an important topic to our community. So we're going to wind it down for today, but I'm going to throw it to my co-queens to give us their final thoughts. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you understand who you're watching. You're watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. And we're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Can you tell I'm in California? Eastern time. And you want to make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you never miss a show. And I'm going to throw it to you first, Minister Connie. You got this buying a home down pat. What are your final thoughts? And please tell us where we can find you.
Yes, you can find me at ConnieSpearman.com. And I also have a podcast every week called Hear and Heal. And we pretty much do it on Tuesdays or Thursdays. So that's how you can find me. But just don't be afraid. Set up a budget. Be a strategist. Go out, ask many questions to see how you will be able to buy the property. FHA, home, maybe the owner owns the home. So there's so many different things out there. Just don't be afraid. Just go after it.
And how about you, Madonna? Give us your final thoughts and where can we find you?
Always be knowledgeable about what you're doing, making sure that you're able to afford it. You don't want to get in and then a year later get out. I can be reached on Instagram at I am Madonna B. Calendly.com/Madonna Brown, and email me at madonnabfinancial@gmail.com.
Thank you. And Athena, can you give us your final thoughts and also where can we find you, Queen?
All right. So for all you goddesses that watch our lovely Fly Nubian Money channel, if you are interested in increasing your wealth through homeownership and other means, you can find me at wewealthwomen.com. I actually just released the Goddess Guide to Money. We have a real estate section as well. Check that out. And last but not least is if ownership is something that you desire for yourself, there's a million ways to skin a cat. We just discussed some. If you want that desire, focus on that desire and let's formulate a plan to get you there. You do not need to walk in fear. You are only fearful because you lack knowledge and understanding. But once you know, the fear dissipates and you will be confident in your decision and you will be on one step further in creating the generational wealth that you deserve.
I absolutely love it. I have been so blessed today by my queens here with me. I just love every last one of you. And I love that we love to educate people. So my final thoughts for today are just very simple. Get educated, do your research, and don't let certain things stop you from your dream of home ownership. A closed mouth never gets fed. So make sure you open your mouth and ask the questions so that you can realize your dream. Then take action. Don't just dream about it, be about it. And I am Laura Lala Key. I'm also known as the Realty Goddess. And you can find me at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. I made it easy for you. But as a collective, we are here with Fly Nubian Money. We greatly appreciate your viewership. We are so grateful for your comments, your thought, and your shares. We want to make sure that you continue to follow us because we are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, you need to just do something very simple. Get your little personal assistant out because we're getting ready to tell you what you need to do to make sure that you stay in contact with us. And that is to text Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. I wish you nothing. We wish you nothing but love and growth and prosperity. Thank you for joining us today. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Now, what are you going to do about it? I mean, you know that it's true. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to just complain about it? If your goal is to just sit and complain about the problem, then just go ahead and hang up. Just go ahead and leave because you know you can just go back to your sad little reality where white people control your access to happiness and fulfilling your destiny. But if you want to solve the problem, well, the way to solve the problem is learn how to start your own stuff. If you learn how to start your own business, then you can walk away from whatever false opportunity they might have put in front of you and actually take your talent and go elsewhere with that and apply it in a way that's going to put food on the table and food in the mouths of your kids. So ultimately, I would say communications is a powerful tool, but I would supplement that with sales or maybe with entrepreneurship or just something that's going to put some more money in your pocket. Now, by the way, if you want to learn more about money in the Black Business School, we have a great program called Black Money 101. It's an introduction to the power of money. Right now, you can get 90% off lifetime access by going to blackmoney101.com. That's blackmoney101.com. Also, I put together a list of what I call canna stocks. Basically, there is what they call the green revolution right now. I don't know how many of you, give me a yes or no if you heard that they are working to legalize legalize weed in America. If you know this, then you will know that that there are certain companies you can invest in that will give you an opportunity to benefit from this development. So what I did was I put together a list of Dr. Boy's canna stocks, and you can get that free list. Just the link is in the bio of this video. So if you go to the bio of this video, you will find the canna stocks there. I'm going to try to put something on the screen so you can kind of see what the page should look like, even though I'm probably going to get this wrong. I'm going to hit the wrong button or something. But anyway, there we go. Here we go. I'll show you the page. So this is the page that you'll see when you hit that link. And basically on that link, there is a list of stocks you can get that are canna stocks. So feel free to grab some of those. Somebody says, very true. Corporate life is not for the Black man. I agree with you, Tyrone. I learned, I got my dream job when I was 21 years old. And I thank God that I had this dream job because because that was when I started to learn the reality is that there's no such thing as a dream job. There's no such thing as a dream job. Nobody dreams about going to work every day. Nobody dreams about labor. If I have a dream, I'm gonna dream about my sexy wife. If I'm dreaming about, ice cream and private jets. If I'm having a dream, I'm dreaming about, the things that men dream about, whatever that is. So, pile of money and sexy women, whatever it is, right? But my wife might be listening, so I can't talk too much. But a job is not something I dream about. So I personally believe that the idea of a dream job is a complete myth. It's a complete myth. Seriously, there's nothing about going to work every day that is great. It's just sort of like a minimal amount of pain. It's sort of like your suffering's not as bad as everybody else's. But if you really spent your time that day doing what you really wanted to do, you'd be sleeping in, you'd be going to the movies, you'd be hanging out with your kids, right? And so ultimately, in this so-called dream job that I had, I went to General Electric Aircraft Engines Division in Lynn, Massachusetts, and they paid me lots of money and put me in a really nice fancy apartment in downtown Boston, which was very expensive. And I hated that job. I hated it. I didn't fit into the culture. I didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand me. It was really tragically painful and stressful for everybody involved. So that taught me that maybe I wanted to do something. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have just become an entrepreneur. I would have just spent a whole year grinding my ass off to learn how to be the best business owner I could possibly be. And then I would have started a business with some family members and figured it out. I would have figured out how to sell something and make money. Instead, I became a professor because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to be able to work on things I wanted to work on. And being a professor wasn't bad, but I wasn't able to get away from the bureaucracy of working for other people and also being a Black man in a white institution. That's really, really hard. I think it's really, really hard if you are a Black man with a strong Black identity being in a pretty white institution because they're forcing you to change who you are in order to fit in, and you're criminalized the minute you walk through the door. And that was just really tough. So I kind of think that the solution for most of us, especially brothers out here, learn how to start your own and also make sure your sons and your daughters know how to do that too.